Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I'm Mike Albertin, and who's human with me? I'm not human. I'm just a podcaster.
This is Joe Butler, and I like to try to ice skate up hills.
And I'm Bill from A Gamer Looks at 40, and now you've got an explosive device attached to the back of your head. Which might be my favorite lines from his mouth, because it's so fun and delivered so straight and good.
He does a good job.
Yes, he does.
And we are here to talk about Blade 2. That came out back in 2002. That's kind of funny, actually. And this episode,
that's pretty good, huh?
I didn't realize that until really just now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's kind of funny. All right, and I do want to say before I get too far, this was brought to you by Patreon. It was a monthly poll, and you guys voted for this. Otherwise, I still would cover it at some point. It's been on my docket to cover for a while.
We could have had my favorite video game movie of all time on here. I'm sad.
What was that?
Which, yeah.
Resident Evil.
Apocalypse?
Yeah, I love Apocalypse.
It'll happen sooner than later.
What were the other two options? I don't remember.
Star Wars?
Either. Yeah, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, which it's already recorded and coming out at some point. But I was surprised. I did not expect this to win. I don't remember what the fourth one was.
Oh, and Venom 2.
Oh, I thought that might have won, actually. I was surprised, too.
Well, we were treated, your wonderful patrons treated us to a real humdinger of a film. Yeah. Mike, I know you're a fan of, you celebrate the entire Blade
I like
franchise.
All three, from what I remember.
Yes. What was your first experience with Blade? Blade 2, I should say.
I saw it in theaters, which is kind of surprising to me, but I remember we went to theaters, saw it, and I remember really liking it, and I'm surprised I wasn't scared of it, considering I was a chicken. I would have been 13, 14 at this time, so yeah, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I know I saw it in theaters, and I know I had the VHS of it at one point. What about you, Joe?
These movies are a fucking fever dream for me, because while y'all were like 14, I was like 8 or 9.
Like 14.
Yeah, there's a weird line where like I remember them vaguely in the background, or like my grandparents watching them or something, but like I remember specifically watching them at some point because I remember most of this movie.
I know when I was watching it last night, Tiff was like, because she didn't believe me when I said this movie's more of a horror movie than the first one. I'm like, this is not what the first one was. She's like, I don't believe you. And she's like, okay, you're right, because it gets pretty violent as the movie progresses.
You can thank director Guillermo del Toro for that.
Yes. The wonderful, the incomparable Guillermo del Toro. I tried to say it properly, and I just completely stumbled over it.
Written by the same guy that wrote the masterpiece of Suicide Squad 2016, David S. Goyer.
Who also wrote the Dark Knight trilogy. I mean, he also did that.
Just like bringing up that movie.
I know. David
I'm also
S.
pretty
Goyer,
sure that if they ever released his version of the movie, it'd be good. But
probably
not the bullshit that we got.
Yep.
And he wrote Dark Knight Rises, so.
I know. Yeah, you're not a fan. I haven't seen it.
And he wrote Dawn of Justice. And Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Garbage.
You know what? Hey, listen. What did Wayne Gretzky once say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
I actually used that quote when I gave my 2 weeks at my previous job. That was in my statement.
Was that in your exit interview?
Yes. It was in my letter to my boss to tell him I was quitting the job because I was really unsure if I should take this job or not at the time where I'm currently at. So I was sitting there. I'm like, I want to put something in here, because I wasn't upset with. They were good to me. Like, they treated me well, and I just got a better offer in not retail. So, but when I wrote the last thing in my line was, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
What? That's, what that is? Not to get off track, 10 minutes into our episode, but that's the kind of thing you put in like a yearbook signing, like when you want to be that poignant quote, you really just hammer the points home. I'm teasing you, Michael. That's
I don't know why. I felt bad. It was the only job I ever quit where I felt bad. Most jobs I'm like, fuck you, I'm good, bye. It was the one job where I'm like, I feel guilty leaving this job. I made the right decision. So
nicely done. Yeah, my experience with this was, I don't think I saw it in theaters. I was in college when this came out in 2002, and a buddy of mine I worked with who was really into Blade. Like, we loved the first one, and we watched it all the time. And I think I probably I might have seen it in theaters with him. I don't think so. It might have been though on digital video disc. And regardless, I was enamored from the beginning. I have a lot of heart for this movie.
It's your kind of movie.
It is. I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro. I think he is a phenomenal director. And I love this. This is so stupid and so fun and so good and well executed for the most part. Right? There's some stupid stuff in here.
The only thing that bothers me, and it bothered me less, is some of the CGI fighting that is unnecessary. But it's 2002, so I get it.
There's at least like 2 or 3 CG fights in this movie.
There are there's a few CG fights. There's a lot of different types of fights, and I'm gonna try not to parrot the amazing, and I mean amazing, director's commentary on the Blade 2 DVD, half of which I listened to last night after watching the movie. That's how much I want to look. And it's the track with Guillermo del Toro, and I think it's the producer, and it is him they are just laughing hysterically and making fun of their movie and the bad CG. Guillermo's like, yeah, this is a terrible scene. This sucks, piece of shit. And it's the finest director's commentary because clearly he wants to have a good time. And I think that translates to the movie itself. Blade is a lot more fun. He's looser. But there was they call that the L cam, which is those CGI comic booky type fluid movements in there. And the one that he despises and talks about a lot is the ninjas one, which I think everyone looks at and says, oh, that looks like a bad video game with ragdoll physics. But we'll get there when we get there. But this is such a fun movie. And he has stated he just wanted this to be a fun movie. He acknowledges there's dumb plot holes and there's things that don't make sense and there's continuity breaks. But you know what? I wanted to gross some people out. I wanted to scare people. And I wanted to make a really fun comic book movie. And I think he succeeds,
It's definitely for the time. I mean, at 2002, I can't even think about what we would have had at this time, but there wouldn't have been much. We would have had Spider-Man 1, I think.
Yeah.
But not much else. X-Men might have been out. Was X-Men out by 2000, 2002?
Yeah.
I think so.
I can't remember that movie. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, it was out.
I want to say it was because I was specifically Wolverine for Halloween when I was an 8-year-old. So
okay. So yeah, there wouldn't have been many. Those would have been the big ones, Spider-Man and X-Men. So, I mean, we already had Blade 1, which I think, if I remember correctly, Blade 1 is the one that really jumpstart Marvel and comic book movies. If I remember correctly.
You would have had Signs, Hot Chick, 28 Days Later, Star Wars, Attack of the Clones, Resident Evil.
That's a good movie.
Spider-Man is 2002. Minority Report. Reign of Fire.
That's a bad movie.
The Ring, another Hellraiser movie. Made in Manhattan, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Lord of the Rings, the second Harry Potter movie, The Scorpion King.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, and Master of Disguise.
I've seen some of those movies, actually.
Oh, Master of Disguise.
Never seen that. Never will.
That's a bad movie.
Yeah, It's pretty bad. That's pretty heinous. I mean, but this is, you got a good point there, though, Michael, because at this point, still, we were not in the MCU yet, which, of course, set the bar. And I was thinking about this last night after watching Blade 2. Blade 2 has a very unique feel. Like, it feels like it has an authorial design to it, right? It feels like a Guillermo del Toro movie. And when I think about the Marvel movies, of all of which we've sat through, over the last 2 and change years, those movies feel very formulaic. There's very little of the director on the screen, except with different exceptions like Black Panther and other films. But for the most part, they feel very similar. They feel on the same continuity, right? So when I see a movie like this, which is clearly someone's vision, whether you like it or not, I appreciate that now. Coming from a world now where everything seems very samey in the comic book world, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, a lot of movies nowadays. I mean, Marvel MCU is guilty of this, even though I enjoy them. They're kind of the cookie cutter movies, as people are starting to call them.
It's funny,
this isn't that.
Yeah, I was gonna say my friend, the well-read mage, once posited on Twitter, mostly to get a rise out of people. Let's be honest, he enjoys doing that.
That's what he does.
He's a bit of a rabble rouser.
He is.
Oh yeah, he is. And he stated that the MCU, all the MCU movies are basically the same. And of course, he got lambasted, as one would expect. And I thought about, I'm like, you know what? He's kind of right. The MCU movies are like police procedurals, like CSI Miami or Criminal Minds. They're all basically the same with differences in story and characters and villains and arcs. But essentially, as constructed, they are basically the same. And I like that. I'm okay with that. Just like it's okay to like Criminal Minds and CSI Miami, It's perfectly like the comfort food of the MCU. This is not comfort food,
No.
unless you're me and love this sort of thing.
This is when I
So I
watched this
appreciate
last night. I was like, "This is a Bill movie."
Oh yeah, yep. All me, just good. What did you? Obviously, this is my kind of thing, and Michael, of course, enjoys it. Joe, what was your last night take on it before we go beat by beat?
I didn't watch it last night. I watched it like maybe 4 hours ago.
Okay.
I watched it with my roommate. I watched like someone talk about the first movie because I didn't remember jack shit from the first movie, and we watched it. We had a good time. We had dinner because it was like 6 probably or 3, whatever. It's like 3 or 4 o'clock. But we had a good time. We laughed. We made jokes. I love horror movies. I love the only thing I can't handle probably is anything that is like what I refer to as torture porn. So like the Hellraiser movies and Hostel and kind of the Saw movies. Like I can watch any horror movie except things where it's like, oh, I'm gonna play with your guts with these things, and then I get all grossed out. But this movie, it's absolutely loved.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're all fans. This is great, especially considering this carries a disappointing. I think what I see 50-something% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't know, y'all. Just get a 58% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which
I don't get
way
that.
too low.
This movie, as much as I know about Blade, and I'm a guy who likes comic books, so I never read a Blade book and probably never will, but it seems what I know of the character to be accurate to the character. I mean, it's a good film. It has action. It has horror. It shows you pretty quickly what you're getting in the first scene. Like, yeah, I don't see why don't people like this movie? I don't get it. Now, Blade Trinity, I can understand completely, but this I don't get.
That's this goes over the top. The critics' consensus on Blade 2 reads, though Blade 2 offers more of what worked in the original, its plot and character development appear to have been left on the cutting room floor. No consensus writer. It was never written in. No, there's no character development. There's really very little plot. There's a plot, but
the plot is, I think, stupid. Okay, when I was a kid, 13-year-old Mike thought this plot of Reapers was just amazing, top tier.
It's cool.
34-year-old Mike still thinks Reapers are not top, maybe not top tier, not top men, but it's up there still. It's still a really good plot.
Yeah, of the evolution of vampires. I'm into that. I think that's interesting.
I love vampire movies too.
Maybe they just were upset that these vampires didn't sparkle yet, and they were like, we want sparkling vampires. It's coming soon.
So this is the day and age, and I think what it might have to do, like, is a lot of the fact too of I guess a lot of the actors in this movie weren't really big name, because you have a really great cast in this movie. Besides Wesley Snipes, you have Ron Perlman, and you have Norman Reedus as young Norman Reedus as the douchey kid in this movie. And I always feel like that's kind of what it was for superhero movies. They either are really good or they really miss. Really weird example of a very good fail movie is Steel with Shaquille O'Neal.
I've never seen it, but I know of it.
It's bad.
Okay, Norman Reedus already did Boondock Saints at this point, so he would have been somewhat. Unless that movie didn't do good until way later. I
think that movie's it's got a cult following, but it didn't do well in the beginning. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, no one cared about it when it first came out, but I think DVD really what moved that movie forward. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I saw him like, is that Norman Reedus? And of course I look it up. It is. Yeah, and he's good. I think he's really good as the despicable yet kind of lovable, geeky kid. The not cyberpunk kid, but that early 2000s edgelord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he does fit that.
I think he's good. I also laugh that plays the part well. Yeah.
In this movie, he's constantly smoking, but he's not smoking cigarettes ever. So that did make me laugh too.
I think, and again, this is all culled from the director's commentary, which let's be honest, I can't stress this enough. If you can find it online, it's definitely worth 2 hours of your life. I think they said that he smokes a total of, 35 joints throughout the entire length of this movie, and nobody noticed. Like, no one noticed that he is constantly getting high.
Sure they didn't. Okay.
I would. Just being surrounded by people who could, rip out your neck at, any moment. You're going to want to be stoned for, 24/7 during this.
Yeah, seriously. I don't, you know what?
For some people, they call me now when I tried edibles. I was calm as hell. So I can get
not a world I can commiserate with. Unfortunately, it's not.
I went to Vegas. Only reason I know.
Well, there you go. That's
it was legal and it was free. So I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, that's the combination for anything.
Yeah. The legal parts would help because it's been free many times, but it wasn't legal. This time it was legal.
I also think it's funny you'll mention that Marvel movies are cookie cutter. I'm a big fan of the what are those movies called? The Kingsman movies. And very minor spoiler for the new movie, but there is an after credit scene that is super not needed. And it's basically where there's like the main bad guy talking and he's like, "And who is this young fine good sir with you?" And a guy walks in with a full mustache and he goes, "Hello, and he looks in the camera, Adolf Hitler." And it plays really dramatic music and it's like, wow, okay, I guess bigger reveal than Thanos. Good job, Kingsman. I appreciate that.
Great. I liked the first Kingsman. I thought it was really clever and fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah,
I like both of the first two. I like both of them. They're really good movies.
I never saw anything past are there three of them, right?
Yes, I think so.
The third one
was two of them and then a prequel.
Yeah,
right.
The third one's
I know Channing Tatum's in the second one. I didn't see that. I want to see him someday, but
Channing Tatum is like the weird oh, Channing Tatum's in this movie. Oh yeah, for like 5 minutes.
Well, that was that time. Like he's in G.I. Joe cover. And he's in the G.I. Joe movie for like 10 minutes and he dies. The second movie, one of them, he dies pretty quick and he's on the cover.
Nice. Must be nice to do a day's work.
He's working on that Gambit movie. That's what's going on.
Cool.
So I do want to say how Blade 2 starts. I mean, one thing I think is really cool. This movie does not take place in America at all. And I think that was needed because the first movie takes place in America. I don't remember if it was Detroit or not, but it was nice that they got away and you start off in Prague. I think it was.
Yep.
I think that's really cool that this movie is never in America the entire time.
So, weird question. Did either of y'all remember, did y'all have to watch anything from Blade 1 before y'all watched this to remember what Blade 1 was about?
Not really. No, I mean, I've seen them so many times. So it's all part of my brain knowledge, but no.
We did it 2 years ago. I want to say we watched Blade.
Was it 2 years? Yeah, it might have been.
It's been a year and a half.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Been a while, or close to 2 years. It's been close to 2 years because it came out September. Yeah, not last year, but the year before. It's been a while. Most of it was in my head. I've also seen Blade 1 a lot of times. So I knew. I also seen this movie many times before, so I knew what was going on.
Yep. Why do you think you were lost, Joe, or did you need that pleasant little recap after this initial scene of bloodletting and horror?
Yeah, no, I did not remember anything from Blade 1. So so I watched something that I do not want to say what it is, but I watched it's a recap of the first movie, and it's what is it? He's after vampires, and what is it? He's after just one specific guy, and there's a weird part where because I remember vividly as a kid, which is probably mentally scarring, but I'm gonna ignore it for now. The part where he's up on the big ritualistic slab and they're draining him of blood to go to the other vampires, and then the dumb twist where his mom's been alive the whole time and
live, but
this being a handful of movies where the main character doesn't get with the woman at the end.
Twice.
And then the movie ending with him being in London in the snow for no reason, just because they wanted that shot for the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I mean the first one is he's the Daywalker and he's going after vampires. I don't remember the initial motivation, but there's this guy Deacon Frost who is played by the wonderful what's his name?
Stephen Dorff.
Stephen Dorff, thank you. And Stephen Dorff is trying to summon the blood god, and that's what happens at the end, where he needs the blood of the Daywalker to summon the blood god, and it all gets into just stupidity, and it's a lot of Wesley Snipes standing in one place while kung fu artists or martial artists attack him from different sides, and one at a time, and one or two at a time, in very polite fashion. And that type of fighting exists in here too. It's basically what it is.
But I feel like it was more chaotic. Like they did a good job of making it feel more chaotic in this movie.
Yes.
Oh no, I was wrong. It doesn't start when I was saying what it started was. Oh no, Prague is the blood bank. Okay, never mind. I thought Prague was when he's in the club.
Yeah, not yet. No, club's actually a ways away.
Yeah, no, I was not the club, but the whatever the hell the first place he's at, the jail place.
Yeah, the jail place to get Whistler. So the main thrust of this movie is toward the end of Blade 1. Whistler, which is Blade's father figure, he's his good bro who gives him his toys, his cue to his bond. Whistler gets bit supposedly by vampires. Whistler offs himself off screen, but evidently not for good because he just didn't shoot himself and then somehow got captured by vampires and then stuck into a giant vat of blood for reasons unknown. So
I think it was he shot himself, but he didn't shoot himself. They found him before he was dead.
Right. They found him before he died. I don't think he shot himself, though. Again, you never really know because he's completely off screen when you hear the gunshot.
Yeah, but they make
so
a
it's not
comment
really
about it in this
explained.
movie.
Do they?
I don't remember what they said. There's some comment. It doesn't matter.
That was a pretty big gun. He was pretty beat up. The opening of I really do want to talk about the opening of this because, like you said, Michael, I'd love to talk about the opening of this because, like you said, Mike, this tells you exactly what you're in for in the first 5 minutes. Like, everything you need to know is here. It's a really good atmospheric scene. You have this obviously sickly kind of hooded figure who's being led into this blood bank. It's you get paid to give blood. You can even give it in the jar, which is ridiculous. Not even vampires. Not even
this random guy. Just the idea that he's sitting there just cutting himself wherever the hell he is and just bleeding into a jar. Like, hey, they pay me for this.
Del Toro is a master of atmosphere, and man, does he create exceptional atmosphere here. As he's walking by, you see people mopping up things of blood in a hallway. This very clinical Prague lady is kind of asking him all these random questions about, have you done this? Have you eaten this? Have you had this? And then they lead him to this operating table, and they're about to Freddy Krueger siphon blood out of his body with these ridiculous appendages.
Did you notice their uniform?
Yeah, they straight up look like Nazis.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, that is awesome. Like the what you're going for, like the symbolism without you're trying to say like these are not good people and we're gonna put them in this outfit that's very close to Nazi Germany to make sure you know they're bad.
Well,
yeah, not a good place.
To be fair, I think that's always a point of Blade because Blade is a black man vampire, and every single like this movie or last movie, and I'm pretty sure the next movie is him fighting a bunch of white dude vampires. So I mean, I guess that's kind of the point.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I never really thought of it that way, but yeah.
He fights a white Dracula in the next movie, so.
Does he fight Dracula I thought he fought Dracula in this movie. I get him. No, this one and the third one bleed together a lot.
So watch the third one. I own it, but I've yet to. It's been so long. I'm sure I have a funny feeling I'll be watching it at some point within the next year and change. So
yeah, something I have that weird feeling too.
Yeah, it's got Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Yes, yeah, right. Ryan Reynolds as Wisecracker. That's what that's his role in these films. But it's a really effective thing. He goes crazy. He kind of starts throwing the creature we know as Novak. I think it's Novak. Is that right?
Thank God it's not Jared Leto. But yes.
Yeah, I think I said.
You remind me of Jared Leto, the actor, does like in this costume. I'm like, thank God it's not that asshole.
And then it's where he attacks everybody. A wonderful blood splatter. The first one is just, as Guillermo del Toro says, the Jackson Pollock blood splatter of the opening. Just blah! And then as he goes to final finish off the third vampire, he opens his mouth. He sees creepy crawlies living in his mouth. I go squee, and we go to credits. And we go to the opening crawl. It's so good.
The opening crawl gives you a bunch of like what happened in the previous movie. It gives you a lot of information to kind of get you caught up pretty quickly. Like at least who Blade is. Maybe not the previous movie, but who Blade is.
Yeah.
It's also good for those who, again, who maybe have not seen the first one. Actually, when they test screened this, people were confused. They didn't have this in there initially, and people were just confused as to what was going on, why Blade was after Whistler. Wait, you don't even know about Whistler yet. Who are these people? So they stitched together, actually that company stitched this opening together with some shots of unused shots from the first one. There's a shot of Whistler looking at a very young Blade, and that was from the original film. That was never in the actual movie. So they kind of stitched this together just to give people a frame of reference if they've never seen it. It's really good. Got some cool narration, and it's good. Some good onboarding for a sequel.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Good.
I thought it was a good way to kind of get you in. And also, they didn't give me the title screen of this movie, damn it. Wait for my title screen. The ongoing joke in the show. But I mean, and then it jumps into, I don't think it ever tells you what city he's in, but you can tell he's in a European city. Or Asian, or Eastern Europe, probably Eastern European, but it's somewhere like that. Like probably what would have been the Soviet Union around, not this time, but somewhere when the old Soviet Union countries. I like the way it does that. Like it just shows you Blade hunting vampires, just trying to find Whistler and picking right up from where the movie ended, kind of. but it works well. And I mean, and also it has one of the best jokes I feel like in any comic book movie. Like it's just such a great little joke. As this whole scene progresses, you have this fat guy that he ends up interrogating, where he puts his head. I mean, he has him in a helmet. And he puts his head against the wheel like he's gonna just rip off his head with the motorcycle running. I mean, just funny ass shit. I thought, but it's really good.
I think.
Go for it, Joe. I'm sorry. Go for it, Joe.
It's cool. I think the weirdest part of the scene is there's a fat guy, but one of the head goon that's in front when they're running from Blade just has fucking temple tattoos of a fucking test dummy that they put in cars. And it's just the weirdest thing. And I kept looking at it and I'm like, what the fuck? And then they do a whole shot where he pulls out a Bladerang and then he throws it. And it goes around the whole area but doesn't hit anyone. And it's just weird.
I thought it was going to come back and hit somebody, but it didn't. It just, like you said, it just goes around in a circle and that's it. And I'm like, what was the point of this? But I guess, look at these cool graphics. Ooh. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it's cool for.
That was the intention of a lot of these things, was literally just because it looked cool. They even mentioned that they wanted to have a shot of the Batarang going around. And they mentioned a video game a lot. They say a video game or a comic where a cartoon or a comic where you would follow this Batarang around and then lands in his hand. And that was all intentional choices. And while in most movies I'd be like, that's kind of stupid and ridiculous, this one I give them passes because it is pretty visually neat. It adds a lot to the pacing. I think this is also the first time where you see him actually do some kung fu style, or I keep saying kung fu. That's not what it is. But you see them do some martial arts. Again, like we said last time, Wesley Snipes is a martial artist. He's a practitioner of that. So to see him actually do a little bit more than just stand there was kind of cool. And these fight sequences were choreographed by different people. And the idea is that they wanted each one to have a different feel. Some feel like swordplay, other feel like traditional kung fu. I forget the choreographer who does the kung fu stuff in this one, but he's like a legend in that particular genre. I'm trying to find it as I talk, so ignore me.
It is good. I like the choreograph in this. I like the fight scenes a lot. I had no issue with them whatsoever in this movie. Except for when they CG stuff just for the hell of it. Then I'm like, but that's fine. It's 2002. Matrix, I think, already came out. I think Matrix is 1999, if I remember correctly. So I get it.
Yep.
So I'm not upset.
Yeah. One of my favorite weirdly choreography, because it's supposed to look like fight scenes, is Scott Pilgrim. So I'm always, and that's the one thing I can think of, and it also has a lot to do because I grew up with Power Rangers. So I'm always a huge fan of just really silly kung fu, super choreographed and you can tell.
Yeah, where there really are just more demonstrations than actual fights, just demonstrations of skill, which I agree with you. So I think they're really cool. They usually don't translate well to movies though, because movies have to have more of a stake to them. And that's why in this movie it reminds me a lot of a kung fu movie, where kung fu movies are really just demonstrations of skill, right? There's not intended to be a lot of emotion behind it or stakes involved, right? There are exceptions, of course, to that, but they're still cool. And this has a lot of that. And I think I do like the choreography in it for the most part. It's silly. It's a bunch of dudes waiting for their turn. There's one shot of the guy who's kind of doing the fighting dance, fighting stance.
It was never boring. I was never bored during this movie.
No.
Which is something that from a movie standpoint, I always can appreciate. I shouldn't be bored during a movie when it happens, but this one didn't really do it. This scene I felt moves pretty quickly. It gets you in. You see him rescue Whistler. You get a lot of info, but with cool fight scenes and stuff that just keeps everything going smoothly and keeps you entertained. And I remembered some of this movie, but I forgot parts of it.
Yeah.
And just one quick thing too. I will never understand though why Blade insists on shooting people when they're 3 feet away from them and wasting his bullets. I don't understand that. When you have a sword, and this entire opening, he does not pull out his sword. They're waiting for him to pull out the sword. And when he finally does, they make it count. But
I think it's more of,
I don't know, just silly little.
Maybe he doesn't, the shooting is one shot and they're done no matter what because it's silver. I mean, the sword's probably silver too, because it's silver too. But so maybe it's just safer. So he just doesn't care, I guess. And the sword is more unsafe because you have to be close and you just try to shoot him. I I'm trying to justify it, but I'm not sure. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just you don't need to think too hard about it. It's just a silly thing. What I actually realized this time around is you mentioned there's one character in here who's kind of like the comic villain, the heavyset person with the feather boa around his neck at all times. Evidently, he's a very famous Spanish comedian. The way Guillermo talks about it in the commentary, and I promise I'll stop with this after about an hour because I only watched half of it. They're interesting tidbits, though. He's like this guy this played very differently in Spain because this guy's like extremely famous in Spain. He's like, imagine if, again, this was 2002. Imagine if like Adam Sandler was getting his head scraped against a roaring motorcycle wheel. You know, that's the equivalent in Spain.
That's cool.
So, yeah, right.
Yeah, and you
like, yeah, it's pretty neat. My question though is, I don't know much about motorcycles. I really don't. But I do know that the back wheel is the one that spins. Am I correct on that, right? The back wheel is the one that spins, the first one does not. How in the world is he holding that man's head to the wheel and then reaching over to the far end to the throttle to make that thing spin?
Okay,
that's not. Oh,
maybe
okay.
some bikes are front. I don't ride a motorcycle.
I think you would fall or flip.
Oh, good point.
I think all bikes are rear wheel drive. So again, just a dumb continuity thing that caught my attention this time. It's like, okay, this is really neat. They're gonna he's gonna scrape his face against a motorcycle wheel. But how is that tire moving? Because I don't think that's physically possible.
I want to say that the motorcycle crashed out, so it's like kind of like wrecked to where it's the back wheel still going.
Okay,
so, yeah,
that's all right. I'll accept that as truth.
My favorite thing about this is Michael. I know you're familiar, but you're also probably familiar with Star Wars, right?
Oh yeah,
I am.
I like how they take Whistler out of like a bloodbath tank.
It does look like a back to tank. And I've just been watching Empire Strikes Back recently. It really looks like a back to tank.
I've been watching Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Same.
I have not. So
You should.
Amazing, fantastic, love it, great.
Okay.
It's way better than Book of Boba Fett. So way better.
All right. Well, so we can just go to Whistler. He finds Whistler after dispatching of some people who are snorting blood coke. That nonsense.
I'm okay with it. I'm completely okay with it.
Just fine. It's perfectly fine. He releases Whistler, very samurai style. Ritualistically slashes him down, and they brings him back to the Blade base.
The Blade Cave, as I called it.
The Blade Cave.
I mean, it reminded me of the damn Bat Cave. It really does. It really does in this.
Oh my God! It's the Blade Sheath.
Oh man!
I mean, that's just kind of what it is. It's like he's got his own little car in there. He's got his butler with Norman Reedus, who's making him stuff and doing things. Like, it's very much like Batman. I don't know enough about Blade to know if Scud is a character from the comics. I'm assuming not, just because the way that comic book movies were at this time. They don't really care about the comics that much. But doesn't matter to me. So we're back at the Blade Sheath. Gosh, that's really good. we meet the aforementioned Norman Reedus as Scud, of course. That's what you name your early 2000s tech genius, Scud, naturally. Oh, yeah. As you watch his videos. And I like him. I think he's actually, these characters are usually obnoxious to me. I don't dig this, but for some reason he really nails it. There's a little bit of a balance. He's just annoying enough, but he's actually still kind of cool because he's Norman Reedus. He's got some Reedus-ness to him. So I kind of like a good job.
Yeah,
I mean, when I first saw this, I had no idea who he was. Because I hadn't seen Boondock Saints till years later, a couple years later. But yeah, so I mean, it's kind of cool. Like when I realized who it was. Like, oh, I know this guy.
So yeah,
before he got big.
Oh yeah, before he got big. Yeah, before obviously The Walking Dead came a calling. Whistler, of course, is dying because he's now without his bloodbath. How can he possibly survive? I love how Blade just pulls out some ridiculous retrovirus serum he just happened to have in his pocket. And Norman Reedus is looking at what is that? He's gonna shake the thirst in one night.
I have issues with it. Like, if you have this, why aren't you shooting people with this?
Yeah, how about you make more? Just make more and more. Stop.
Instead of shooting everybody with silver, maybe you should, shoot some people with the drug that saves them instead.
Listen, We all know from video games that it's a lot of fun to turn the tables on your opponents by taking your enemies and making them your friends, like in BioShock. That is a lot of fun. So Blade should play more BioShock if it was out at that time, and then he may have had that idea.
So there's a couple things I can probably say. One is I believe that was the plot for the first movie, is they find a cure at the end, and they find like two different cures. One where if you inject it into someone, it makes them explode.
Yes, so good.
And the other one, which is an all cure, and I think that's how the first movie ends, is where she's like, "I'll give you the all cure. You can be human," and he's like, "No, I've still got a job to do." But I think that's what. Yeah, I think that's what he uses on him. And then two, I mean, I think that way too. If I was a vampire and I really like being a vampire and some dude cures me, I'm just gonna go back to being a vampire. I'm gonna go back to whoever turned me.
Okay.
And then just be like,
True.
"Hey, fucking asshole Blake keeps injecting us with cures. He just turned me back." It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I got you, bro. Here you go. Let me get you a little neck bite there. Yeah, it's a very good point.
That does make sense. And I forgot that he only had like the one of it or so, or not. Like he didn't make it. It's been a while since I watched that movie. A year and a half.
It's been a while.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just thought it was just funny. I was like, okay. You just happened to. I didn't think you guys were going to cure him. I thought I was just going to, like, at first subdue it so he wasn't as, thirsty. And then all of a sudden he's in the sunlight and he's fine. I'm like, wow, that went away I didn't expect. So, yeah. It's just,
luckily for us, luckily for us and the plot, Whistler's fine. He's good to go. The next day comes after Blade does some samurai stuff again. That was a big deal for Wesley Snipes in the creation of his character. As I mentioned last time, pretty sure I mentioned last time, Wesley Snipes had a lot to say about his character as Blade. And he really pushed hard to treat it more like a samurai. That's how he saw Blade, as this kind of methodical, disciplined fighter or warrior, which is why you have a lot of these kind of, he's got his automatic gun and he's kind of has it in this little pouch, like his little ceremonial box, which actually, again, one more thing from the commentary, it's just a cigar box they found, but they thought it looked pretty on the side. So that's all that box is. And
okay, that's funny.
So you have a lot of those like ritualistic things he does, and Whistler comes back. Whistler meets Scud. Clearly they don't like each other. There's no way that was going to become a marriage made in heaven. And turns out Whistler's been gone for years. But just before they can actually become friends and really just reconcile their differences, an invasion happens. Ninjas appear and CGI float towards the... what do y'all think about this whole
Was that
sequence?
part when they're swinging across the roof? Is that CGI?
Yes.
Probably.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was thinking maybe they just had people who were trapeze just swing.
No.
CGI. Okay.
Much cheaper just to put some video game characters and make them leap from the... Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. That would have been cooler if they didn't do that.
So we have a battle, a very entertaining, I think, a sword fight where literally, just like Joe was saying, no one's trying to hit each other with these swords. They're just clanging swords together to make lots of clangy sounds.
Well, that's because
some dumb reason I'm here for it.
A real sword fight, it won't be as interesting because there's a good chance that I think a real sword fight involves a lot more of standing back, waiting. You strike, you wait, you strike. I mean, you're waiting for that opening. You're not just going ding, 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 ding. It's not as cool, I'm pretty sure.
No, for sure not.
I've never been in a real sword fight, so I don't know for sure, but my guess is you would be waiting a lot more because every time you swipe, you're going to put yourself out for open for an attack. Because all I got to do is deflect your sword and stab you.
They do silly little goofy like downward strikes and then ballet tiptoes, and I don't know, Joe. How did you feel about this whole sequence up to and including the horrendous CGI?
I love he uses his sword like a cane, and it's a really cool fight. It's a lot of back and forth and like really silly looking shit. Like him bending backwards and like him tapping the bottom of his shoes to block and then you have like weirdest moment because you can tell it's there where like the camera shifts, look at the lights, and I swear it looks like stop motion at some points where they're like just back flipping and like attacking each other. But it's also a really silly movie thing to be like, oh hey look, we're gonna have Wesley Snipes fight two guys in masks, and then when they're done they take their masks off because we can't show who they are because of stunt performers.
Of course, they clearly are.
But that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and again. It makes sense. And again, the idea of that these, they're vampires, even though they're, I guess, I don't think fluorescent lights give off UV light because that happens all the time in this. I don't know. Anyway, you're right. It's
I
really
think
just
UV lights have to be something special in this universe to give
I
it
don't
off.
know. I know nothing about light. It appears.
I don't know enough to be able to speak
yeah.
to how UV light would work in that sense, like how you could get something that is the same power of sunlight. But
Yeah, I don't
for
know.
the movie's sake, that's how I just look at
It's
it.
fine. Yeah, it's got this it's really cheesy. And again, that one scene I think that you just mentioned, Joe, where they're against the floodlights, and it's just kind of the silhouettes, and it's just these rubbery characters bouncing back and forth and flipping and
very
flopping.
rubbery.
Stupid looking. It's really bad.
There's a part where he jumps and you can just see the CGI.
Yeah.
I also love that the fight ends whenever she points his sword at his dick, because that's how most fights should end.
It was funny though. There's a couple different times where that happens in this movie with stuff where like there's some guy gets stabbed in the dick at one point too. One of the guards.
Oh yeah,
So
no, that was in the beginning. Yeah, he gets it right in the groin area. Which evidently
it was a thing.
Evidently in this fiction, you don't need to stab a vampire in the heart with your silver stake. The dick will do. So clearly that's kind of how that works. But yeah, so you finish up, and finally, this is what always gets me these things too. Why did they have to go through all this? Why did you go through all this fighting? And you could have just said, "Hey guys, don't shoot. We come in peace." Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know. We want to practice our flipping and flopping through the sky. You see, we've been training for this for 2 years as part of the blood pack.
Blood pack.
Stupid Goyer. Stop it, Goyer.
It didn't bother me.
Goyer.
I thought it was cool.
It was neat, but it's like ridiculous. That's one of those.
No, I agree. It's very 2002. This movie reeks of the early 2000s.
Yes. However,
okay
I
with
will
that.
say when the director and the producers were looking at this scene, they read it. They quickly realized it makes no sense for them to come in and just start fighting without announcing. So what they do is you'll notice that Whistler shoots first.
Yeah.
And that's what sets us all off. If he hadn't shot first, they probably would have had a very peaceful exchange, but not a cool kung fu moment. So
I can believe that because they're vampires. This is like their arch enemy who hates the fact that they exist. They hate him. Like I can buy it.
Oh yeah,
He's
I mean,
killed how many of their kind at this point? What's that?
Oh yeah, and also I think there's a sense of we want to test him out. Like, hey, let's see how we do against this guy who we've been trying to kill for 2 years.
They do pretty good considering they put a sword to his dick. So yeah.
Well, yeah. It's like, okay, I give. We're now treated to the first of our team. I don't remember the name of the fella in this pair, but I know the lady is Nisa.
Nisa.
Or Nissa.
I don't remember the guy's name either.
Okay. We'll just call him we'll call him dude then. Just dude guy. So
I don't know, it didn't matter to me.
I would agree. Guys, would you agree that this is a movie filled with pretty good performances all around?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, hit or miss. I don't like bagging on actors. I really don't, because acting is hard. Yeah. It's not a thing I know how to do, and it's sometimes you got to work with what you're given. David S. Goyer does not write the greatest dialogue in the world. We're all aware of this, but the actress who plays Nisa is so bad, so bad. Lenore Valera, Lenore, yeah, I say Lenore. Lenore Valera, my dear, if you listen to this, this may have been a pitch you can't hit, and nobody could hit, right? Who knows? Maybe this just wasn't possible, but I hope you improved from this performance because she is so bad in this movie.
I had no problem with
her. Astonishing. Wow. What?
But okay, I'm also not I don't notice acting or things like that. I don't think it jumps out at me usually in movies.
But you do have a working pair of ears and eyes, right? Like you are aware of.
I thought she was just. I mean, to me, it just seemed like she was going for that type of aloof, not really concerned. That was the character. That's all I took.
Her delivery of the lines were very strange, and they were consistent. So it was definitely a choice. And she has very little emotion. She does not connect with anybody. And I know the movie's trying real hard for her and Blade to start becoming an item somewhat, someday. It never worked. They could try all day. They ain't happening. Those two have no chemistry. Boy, oh boy. Joe, what did you think about this introduction? And at some points we're gonna talk about the blood pack, but am I alone? Am I alone in this? Am I alone in just feeling really bad for her? I'm like, oh, honey, you're not doing well. You're not doing well. This ain't good.
I don't usually notice acting. I know it's bad voice acting because I watch a lot of animated stuff. But like usually acting, unless it's really, really, really bad. But I also think this movie's like okay in general, so it's like eh.
I guess I really like acting. Acting is I love actors.
Also, she was nominated for the Ariel Award in 2005 for Best Actress. So,
for what movie?
Innocent Voices on a Fox, which is I'm not even sure what the hell it is. Innocent Voices, 2004, and she was in Stargate Atlantis.
Stargate.
I don't think.
I don't know.
I don't think she's
She's a working actress. I mean, she does work, and she gets.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff she's been on.
Again, I'm not saying she's a bad actress. This role, I don't.
No, you're just. I mean, this is also one of her really early roles too.
Yeah,
it looks like, and I think a bunch of her movies based on the name of being La Infante de la Beauté and Las Parasites and Bouge and La CS. She wasn't English usually, so
yeah.
That could be a lot of it too. There's a lot of people that usually say whenever like foreign actors do a lot of English stuff, like especially at the first couple of movies, usually don't like their acting, but it's usually because it's like they're trying to pretend to be American.
Yeah, she's from Chile, so that could be a big part of it. That was what they're. I don't know. I mean, I don't like. I get where you're coming from. Like it was kind of like, but I'm also the same person that didn't have a problem with Sofia Coppola in Godfather 3. So I'm a different type of person when it comes to movies. So.
Yeah. Then that's maybe Ooh, she's not great.
It takes a lot for me to really notice like
that's fair.
Bad acting.
Fair. That's fair. It's something I clue in on a lot when it comes.
Well, you are what I consider more of a movie buff guy and a guy that understands movies more at a level than me. That's like, ooh, shiny.
No, Michael, I'm an asshole with a big mouth and a lot of opinions. I don't, and then a podcast. That's why I have a podcast. So I mean, that's really all I do. And she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've never seen those, but she was in the second episode of the first season. She plays Camilla Reyes.
I have no idea. I've seen the first season, but got nothing.
That's why I brought it up. Anyway, so yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was. It's nothing. So go ahead.
So now we meet the Blood Pack. We basically meet the crew of people who I just, again, as always, just named by facial and personal appearances, and don't bother to learn their names. How do you like his motley crew? The motley crew of vampires.
But before we go to the motley crew, though, you skipped a little bit. They get teleported in, and you're introduced to her father, the vampire lord.
Yes, yeah, that all happens first,
and then that's when you get probably one of my favorite lines in the movie, which is, "Oh, hey, you have a human? Yeah, I'm not a vampire, but I'm worse. And what's that? A lawyer." And it's a really cheesy line.
I love this joke. Okay, before we watched Blade 1 back a year and a half ago, I couldn't remember what movie had this, so I was waiting for this. I'm like, yeah, it's not in this movie. So when I saw that actor show up, I was like, yes, it's the movie. And the joy that I felt to hear my stupid line that has been in my head since I saw this movie back in 2002 made me happy.
Yeah, I mean it's so cheesy. It's good. I kind of had a good dad joke growing at it, like that's cool. I do like the fact that it has.
Have you ever dealt with a lawyer before for anything?
No.
My wife has for some stuff, and the lawyer was horrendous and a shyster.
Okay, I had to deal with custody before twice, and with a lawyer, and one was, I mean, she was good, but just dealing with that. It's not, like I can understand when they're on the other end of their job not to let you win. You really, really hate them. I'll just say that. And I get it. Like, I also watch a ton of like documentaries about serial killers, and I get it. It's their job. They're doing what they have to do. But just to understand it, like, yeah, I completely get that line now. So yeah, that's all.
No, that makes sense. It's a very common, it's a very well-worn trope. But if it's true, it's true. I mean, there's nothing to say about that. But this is actually pretty cool. You go to the vampire base, which is super inconspicuous, large FBI style building in the middle of Prague, evidently. Like, this is the secret base.
I can buy this.
Because, I can kind of too.
Well, I'm going to give you my history reason is, I think if I remember right, Prague would have been part of the Soviet Union, so you would have had people who did have a lot of money who empower military. So I could believe that there'd be military complexes that are still there that somebody's running and nobody's questioning, or it's far enough away from civilization.
That's fair. I mean,
I'm just making my own reasons, but that's how I took it.
So, Joe, what did you think about this whole scene when we meet Nisa's dad, the weird Nosferatu-looking, blood, old, elderly guy, dinosaur? Dinosaur? I think I did write dinosaur. Dinosaur vampire almost. That's how old he looked.
It's a vampire man. It's a vampire man. It's
Yep.
it's what I think it would be. And of course, obviously, the very silly of, oh man, I'm here. I don't know if it's said earlier or later, where it's like, oh man, are we sure this is a good idea? And it's like, oh yeah, because they're gonna fuck us over any chance they get. Which we all watch the movie, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they knew it though, and I like it when they're like, "Why are you coming with us always?" And he just shows he has all these all these bombs on him. I love that. I just do.
Really good. Yeah, he's I'm going down with the ship if I have to.
Is this also like the weird where they talk about how like the whatever the hell Novak is, it'll take over the world in like less than a week or something?
Yeah. That's how they get him to be involved, because he's like, if they're killing you, why do I care? But then they explain to him that they'll be everywhere if you don't do something.
Yeah, and I think is this where they call them Reapers too, which is actually a really good name for
I like
Yes, it is.
I think it's really good for what it is. I think it really does encapsulate what these characters are. I mean, they're kind of like zombies, but vampire zombies in a way, I guess.
Yeah, they're kind of. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. They're vampire zombies. Yeah. I kind of listen to like feral vampires. They're about feeding as opposed to dressing in really cool clothes and listening to rave music. They're really kind of just, and they're also, as we learned, they're kind of the mistakes. Like they're kind of the version 2.0s. We're really trying to get to version 3. So they're kind of these like little monsters. I just don't understand how within the course of a few nights they go from like a dozen to literally thousands. That doesn't seem like it makes sense, but I don't know. Maybe.
You remember COVID when that happened?
You know what? You make a very good point. although all I had to do was like breathe into someone's face, or not wash my hands properly, and I'd get it, as opposed to being my neck sucked dry from Reaper face blood.
Yeah, but if you think about it, you had a vampire type creature that is attacking homeless people, and you're in a bigger city or going after the unwanted. It wouldn't take long to wrap up a bunch. And
they do establish it takes like 20 minutes for you to turn. So it's not like it's
I can buy it. If you go somewhere and there's lots of like, homeless people, lots of things of that nature, people that aren't going to be noticed, that are missing, things like that, you could easily rack up people real fast.
Yes, we establish it takes 20 minutes for your turn. Once again, we establish it takes 20 minutes, not more, not less, to transform into a Reaper. And that's why you must turn quickly and get rid of someone.
Yes.
It's weird that you brought that up. I didn't realize that it was stated it was 20 minutes, because I was like, that contradicts something later in this movie now.
Yeah.
Strange.
But we're getting to... I have this one biggest complaint about this movie, which it's going to segue into what Bill really wants to talk about, which is the Blood Pack. Michael, do you like the Blood Pack?
I do, actually.
One of the characters who is referred to as I looked it up as Snowman, who is the only Asian guy in the group, is Donnie Yen, who is a renowned Asian. He's a Hong Kong martial art actor, and he does nothing this whole fucking movie, which is a shame.
Yeah, he's a really good actor, and I don't understand why they do nothing with him.
They do nothing with him. He swings a katana around twice and nothing happens.
I'm wondering if it was cut. If there was something that would have been in there, because I mean, he must have been a bigger actor at this point too. I mean, there's been some reason why they got him, and then they just didn't do anything with him, or maybe he got cut for some reason.
I think they couldn't afford him. I think literally it's like it's like $100,000 per backflip. That's all you're getting. You're gonna cut some guy in half, and then I'm gonna cut some guy's head in half, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna do the whole movie.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, I think he was also one of the main choreographers. So he may have, I think he was, because remember I had mentioned that one of the choreographers is a legendary Hong Kong director. I think it was Donnie Yen, and I think he was. So he spent most of his time actually choreographing the film, and then maybe a few minutes they're like, man, we need like a sixth in this Blood Pack. Do you mind putting on the suit and just doing next to nothing? Yeah, sure, man. I got you, Guillermo. Don't worry about it.
This is also his first American movie, I think.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Because I'm looking at the credits, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong. He has a bunch of different movies, but okay, they all had Chinese titles too, except for Blade 2. So maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. But he did a lot of movies. A lot of shit. No, he was in Highlander Endgame. Never mind. Yeah, this is not his first. Okay.
Just to close the loop on it, he was one of the choreographers, and they were so impressed with his work that they invited him to do a quick cameo. Just like, literally what I just said. Like, hey, do you want to throw a suit on and have a little fight, fake fight? Don't really fight anybody, but just fake fight. Sure. Okay, cool. So, cool. Good call.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't do many English movies before. If I'm just like highlighting each one of the movies, almost all these are Chinese movies. So he did very little English at this time. He may have done one other English movie, which was Highlander Endgame, and that's it. Then this.
Highlander.
Okay. I like Highlander. Endgame's okay, but I like Highlander a lot.
But Bill, the Blood Pack.
Oh, disposable nonsense. I mean, just, I don't know, Reaper fodder, because none of them are any. And I love the fact that they had trained for 2 years to hunt Blade. You get them in the dance club, which we'll go to the House of Pain, and they are just completely terrible at what they do. None of them do anything good, except for Ron Perlman, who's a joy and a national treasure. Another person who, if he got canceled for some reason, I'd be really upset.
You have the good scene where they argue, and he smacks him in the face.
It's really funny. It's so fun.
And then he puts the bomb on his head, which is a ongoing joke in this movie.
Yep, that was where my line came from. Yeah.
I think the weirdest part is Ron Perlman's first line in this movie is like the most racist thing like I've heard this week.
I know. This week. Oh man. Yeah. Was that? Do you blush? Is that because he said that? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
He said that, and I'm like, is that a black joke? Like, it didn't register my. Exactly. I had the exact same thing. I'm like, I don't get this.
It is it's a racist joke, but apparently it's also a vampire joke because vampires don't have blood flow, but he might because he's technically half human. So it's taken both ways.
Okay, that's still kind of shitty. I mean, if it is something that is racist, I mean, yes, okay, for vampire, but still don't. But I guess 2002 was a different time. We didn't really care as much.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
We weren't educated, let's say.
I mean, it can't be as bad because it's never brought up that he said it ever. And like, you obviously something would say where it's like, oh yeah, Wesley Snipes obviously said that's the worst line in the second movie. That's never come up either. So I'm assuming it might be considered racist or it might not. I just know I wouldn't say it to anyone.
Well, I'm pretty confident but I'm pretty confident at the end that's the last thing Blade says to Ron Perlman. Do you blush?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I don't. That's why I just made. I don't know. It didn't make much sense to me. So thank you for bringing it up because I was very confused by that line. My first thought was like, is that like a black joke? But I don't know if it makes sense. Like, what? Why would you say that? That's ridiculous.
It's supposed to show that like Ron Perlman is the bad guy. Like he's not a good person. You know, you have. It obviously also no one on the Blood Pack is also black except for the one guy that goes to recruit Blade, who I don't even think he's technically in it, or he's not in Ron Perlman's weird little gaggle of freak.
No, he's there, but he's not like in that shot that you're talking about.
Yeah,
because you meet him earlier because he's one of the ninjas with Nisa. He's not in they're all weird too, like Priest. I mean, they're just all strange ass characters.
Yeah, just weird video game characters wearing, leather and spikes and tattoos, and it's fine. We're not supposed to care about any of these people, and they're just here to be part of the team that goes to the House of Pain. Evidently, that's one of the places where Nisa says we should check here first. Boy, am I glad they do. There's all sorts of creepy stuff here, all sorts of wonderful early 2000s tech dance music, which just made me very happy and nostalgic. I got hit with all the nostalgia feels on it. What did you all feel about the House of Pain?
I like it. I think it's a cool concept. I mean, I think it's I know my wife thought she's like, they did this already.
They basically did, yeah.
But I still thought it was really it's just good. I mean, it's different enough, but it also makes sense. If you're somebody who can only be out at night, you're pretty much a walking dead. Why not dance? I guess you probably have a lot more energy. You probably don't get tired. I'm guessing if you're a vampire, that you're not going to get tired like a human would. So you're just, enjoying yourself.
Yeah. A bunch of night owls,
Yeah.
I mean, I like in the beginning, they're having the I love the fact they have a very involved arming section where they explain what all the weapons do. Like this one shoots out silver nitrate, and here's the little flashlight that has a UV ray on it. And here's the And then he's got the little hand. What were those things like the stabby hand things that would,
it injects something into their body that will blow them up or something, but it's
it
used
never
one
does.
time in the movie and does nothing.
Yeah, it almost does. And I'm like, come on, blow his head up. No, it did nothing. And then all for them to go through, and when the fighting starts, none of it works. It's all completely ineffectual garbage.
I think part of it was that the UV stuff, they don't use it because it would harm them. They don't, even though like they show really quickly the blood plaque does not give a shit about anybody else in this rave club. They don't, when the fighting starts, they shoot everybody. They don't give a shit.
Right.
They make a comment like, they're all half-bloods anyway. They're not pure.
Yeah.
I want to be like,
but
you guys multiply by biting somebody's neck. Like, yes, you're not all going to be pure. That's kind of how it works when you're a virus. You know?
Yep.
But there's a really weird scene in this where I feel like it was a waste of like probably materials where they're like walking through and you're kind of getting a feel of what's going on. To which, people are making out with razor blades in their mouth.
Yeah.
And then there's a really weird scene of like this person just getting their fucking back flayed. And it's in the movie for like no reason. And I think it's silly. But I also feel like the whole reason why they explain all the weapons and all this is that whenever they fight the Reapers, it's like, oh, look, these guys are basically invulnerable.
Yeah, and it's definitely the intention. I just find it interesting that they spent all that time, which is okay because and I don't think it's a bad thing, because you want to tell the audience, hey, these guys have a fighting chance. Like they're armed to the teeth. We're going in. You didn't want them going in with like nothing in their hands. So it makes sense, and I think it adds to a lot of the fear of the Reapers, like you said, that they're really invulnerable. There's not much you can do against them except for the light, and the light's so funny because it's this little dinky little boop. Like $10 flashlight. And of course it's not going to kill anybody. It's going to burn the Reaper and they run away, which Reaper deterrent. All right, that's fine. I'm actually okay with that.
Which makes sense because it's not powerful enough. The idea of it is just like to stun you and then take you on other ways.
Exactly. So this is all fine. I'm not nitpicking about that. I just found it kind of humorous. It's like, look at all this cool stuff. Damn it, none of it works. And actually, he in that scene where someone's getting their back flayed for no reason and stares at the camera, with a come hither gaze. I think they're getting their spine replaced because if you look on the table, there's an extra spine just kind of hanging out. So I mean,
that was a weird part. I was like, what the hell is going on here?
Same.
It's just trying to show like how not depraved, but like just the lifestyle that the vampires live and what they do for kicks. It's unnecessary. It's flavor. Evidently, they were going to shoot. They were going to shoot a bunch of scenes of the private booths and what goes on in there. Kind of glad they didn't, because boy, oh boy, it wasn't going to be playing Candyland or Mario Kart. Hey,
or PG-13.
Yeah, let's keep this above board. It's going to be heinous. I would have smiled, but
they're just cutting people open. You're like, I think there is one scene. I don't remember if it's here where you see like somebody just feeding. You see vampires just feeding on a woman, like they're biting her wrist and on her neck.
Yep.
Yeah, they had more.
And then just a lot of people just dancing along in a very crowded room. Again, like I said last time around, the sort of party that everyone would like to be at that time, but didn't really exist. So yeah, great.
Were raves not around in 2002 like that?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that music was still a big deal. I remember that song very vividly. The one that they play through this section very vividly.
Yeah, raves were a thing because raves were a thing when I was a teenager, and I was a teenager in like 2011 and under. So yeah, raves still existed.
Okay. Never been to them, but then again, I wasn't that kind of. I didn't party ever.
Neither have I. I was not a rave goer, but
no. And then at the same time, when you have them inside the club right before all the action breaks out, you have Scud is in the van doing whatever. Oh, there's a joke that I have to make here that this was a joke for me. When Scud is in the van, he opens a box. And I don't know if you noticed it, but the box he opens is a white box. That happened to be a FedEx Express box.
Was it really?
Yeah, it's a FedEx, probably medium or large FedEx Express box.
Yeah, They mailed him donut.
Right.
He mailed himself donuts.
Is what? I thought it was like a Krispy. I thought it was a Krispy Kreme box.
But that box was as a guy who used to pack hundreds of those boxes, that's a FedEx box.
I'm not denying your expertise, sir. I am not questioning your credentials, but like Joe just exclaimed, there were Krispy Kremes in there. There were donuts, nectar of the gods, as he said.
He could have paid for priority overnight, international, and got it shipped.
You are in a van that you drove to this location, sir. Why would you?
I mean, when you put down the address, you put a van next to Vampire Club.
Yeah, look for the glyph that you can't see unless you have night vision. What?
The way I took it is he had it delivered and he was waiting until his stakeout. That's how I took it.
Right, because that's what one does when you want a delicious breakfast treat is you get them shipped in from your neighborhood Krispy Kreme, I guess. I don't know. What? That's so weird. Okay. I just saw the Krispy Kreme box. I didn't see the FedEx one.
It's a FedEx box. I laughed really hard when I saw that.
Who knows? Maybe they didn't want to spend money on the Krispy Kreme.
And for the record, there is Krispy Kremes in Prague.
Really?
Think. Yes.
Huh.
Yep. They're in Prague. So he could have just had them, somewhere nearby.
So funny. All right.
I think it's Prague. I looked up Prague, unless there's a different Prague in a different state that's not the other country.
Yeah, Prague, Texas. Yeah, you never know. But yeah, so Scud's hanging out there with Whistler.
Krispy Kreme in Europe. Are there? Yeah, there's Krispy Kremes. They're in Japan. Okay. They're all over the country. They're all over the world. So yeah, they're around.
This is also 2002. So I imagine 2002, if you're going to go stake out someplace in Prague, you would fucking mail yourself donuts.
I'm just happy that I saw the box and I laughed that I recognized the box, and I was also upset at the same time that I recognized the box.
I'm happy you noticed, so I can have a really good laugh at the concept of mailing yourself Krispy Kreme. See, so all of this came full circle, and I hope our fine listeners are enjoying this back and forth as well. That's insane. All right, cool, Scud. Enjoying delicious late night treat, nectar of the gods, as he says. Even I guess not knowing nectar is liquid, but whatever. We'll just move on.
Also, I don't know where he would have ordered from because all these ones across the world did not open till after this movie would have been released. So, yep, he might have shipped it from America.
A bunch of shambling. You know what? When a bunch of shambling rave vampires come by and looking at, you figure a couple of them are going to open late. Like it's like a diner. Like for some reason they all come out of this one building at 5 a.m. So. All right, let's make sure maybe they have the munchies. Who knows?
Yeah, I cannot find any that opened up because it has me all the different years, and none of them were before 2000. None were before that time, so I got nothing.
Do you think a vampire would enjoy a good Krispy Kreme donut, or do you think they only dig blood?
Krispy Kremes are not that great. Why would you?
I agree they're overrated, but I mean, I don't know, because you were just talking about Joe. I think whoever was saying, if I'm just like a vampire and Blade is like throwing around these curing serums. And I just want to turn back into a vampire. I just find a good bro and let him take care of it. But if I can't have donuts and enjoy that stuff, I may just stick with the serum. That might make the decision.
I don't know. I didn't get it. Like Krispy Kremes are not that good. Wouldn't you rather have just some nice donuts at wherever you're at? Like,
look, I swear, Mr. Michael, if you start looking up donut shops in Prague, we are gonna have to.
I did. Oh no, I didn't do that yet. I did look up Krispy Kremes, and there were not. He would have had to have a shit from America at this time. So he would have paid an insane amount for overnight, and it wouldn't have been a day because it takes overnight is not. This guy who worked at FedEx. It's not overnight for when you do international very often because they can't. So it would have been about 3-4 day old donuts that were packed in that box and shipped out.
Joe, I apologize for this. I apologize on behalf of Mike Albertin.
He knows.
What's even weirder? What a weird way for like a 2-second joke just to be like, oh yeah, you could tell that Norman Reedus mailed himself donuts to Prague because he knew he'd have to sit in a van for like 12 hours. Like what a weird 2-second joke that just can be thrown away.
But you also know they must have paid money for it too, because the fact they show the Krispy Kreme box.
It's pretty clear that's a Krispy Kreme box. Yeah.
I mean,
anyway, let's ding this shit back to.
And there is a bakery called Old Deer Bakery, by the way, in Prague. That's where you should guys
do it. I knew that was going to happen. I just knew it. All right.
Number 1, apparently, top 10 donuts in Prague.
There we go. Excellent. So, so basically what happens here is we have, like you said, we have Krispy Kreme and Whistler on the outside covering their backs, so to speak. We have the team splits up, and here's the split up. I wrote this down. We have Tattoo Guy and Redhead. They are team 1. Tattoo Guy and Redhead, who are an item, clearly, at some point. We have, who is this now? What did I write down?
You have Hammer Time, as I called him, which is with the red head. Okay. You have Priest, which is the weird, silver white guy. You have Donnie Yen, who was why am I doing this? So those are the main ones I want to say. Oh, and you have Chupa, who is the guy from Fast and the Furious 1 who ends up hating on Paul Walker's character.
That's who he
Yeah, that's where you probably recognize him from.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So everyone's outside doing their thing, and of course, Blade is with Nisa, and they're kind of scouring the club. None of this goes well for anybody, and you'll hear me say that over and over again as we talk through this movie.
Terrible.
Nothing ever goes through good with anybody. There's no successes.
It was terrible.
Epic failures all around. Nisa gets a really good jump scare when she gets not attacked, I guess, but approached by Novak. It's great. Scud, meanwhile, gets attacked by a bunch of these Reapers. This is the scariest part for me in this whole segment because the swarm of zombie vampires is really scary. Like swarms of fast-moving undead, very, very terrifying. And this is all really well. And the pacing is so good on this too, and the way everything is paced here is really top-notch. I forget what happens. Let's see.
You have the Reapers baiting them. You have the Reapers attacking the bus that Scud is in, and then him finding out that, sunlight will work after he tries to shoot him and fails. And how they didn't get inside that bus and kill him, I got nothing.
I really don't have anything for you. It was, again, really well done and scary, and you really feel for Scud. And I think this is the point, too, where you start to kind of like Scud because he is really not up to the task. And he never goes back out, as you'll see in the second suit I've seen. Are you not going out? No, I'm staying here. Screw that.
I also didn't understand why he shot the window that they hadn't broken yet. Because they're out there like, maybe you shouldn't shoot the window that they're looking because they're just going to climb in after you shoot the window.
But again, he doesn't know that the bullets aren't going to do anything yet.
No, they didn't find out yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it was just like, and they're just like, they can't get inside his van, and for some reason, the guy that's trying to break into the front window has his whole face wrapped in bandages, but only that one guy has his face wrapped in bandages. I'm like, why is your face wrapped in bandages? Then he lights on fire. I'm like, oh, that's why his face is probably wrapped in bandages. That was just odd.
Yeah, there's also a weird scene during which is I hate to backpedal, but this is the really dumb thing in the club when Blade's walking around. He meets the guy in the boa again, and the guy in like you get what seems like an actual honest laugh from Wesley Snipes because he's like,
yep. That really leads into a very good point overall for this film is that Wesley Snipes is having a lot more fun. And Blade is having a lot more fun. In the first Blade, he takes it extremely seriously, and he actually discussed with the director. He was concerned a lot of the angst was removed from the script. He really liked that angst, that trauma. He liked really acting, I guess. And Del Toro strips a lot of that out and says that we're going to have fun. Like, you can be serious, but we're going to have a lot of fun. They had that great little standoff between Ron Perlman and Blade where,
it's funny.
Ron Perlman's got the laser beam on his chest, and then Blade's got his on his, and they kind of give each other an FU. He's like, he mouths, FU to, it's really good. And it's really fun. It. Yeah. A lot of fun.
It worked better than I expected.
Oh, and then y'all were both right. The guy with the tattoos on his face, because I remember specifically because his girlfriend yells, his name is Lighthammer. Lighthammer,
wow.
Please.
Okay.
Listen, Goyer, all right? Lighthammer. You can read those things over and not do it. That's just, you can't. They can't be. But I like mine better. Tattoo. We'll go with that.
And this is where you have Priest gets bitten during this fight. Hammerman gets infected. So they get, you're right. They suck. They really do suck.
Yeah, everything falls to crap. Perlman does have a really cool moment where he slowly crucifixes, this one Reaper to the ground with his spikes, and then very slowly and murderously chars into bits. I think that's at this point. It might be later. But
the only Reaper they kill in this entire scene.
Donnie Yen has that one little sword. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. That sword fight's really good. I was gonna say the him crucifying, doesn't also Blade do that in the first movie? Because I want to say the Ron Perlman and Wesley Snipes, their characters are actually a really good way of mimicking each other. You kind of have that towards the end too when Ron Perlman steals a bunch of his equipment, and they're really good foes for each other during this movie. Especially like you mentioned earlier, the part where they're pointing lasers at each other and mouth off "fuck you." And if it wasn't for the really dumb twist at the end of this movie, I thought it would be a bit a better fight.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the stupid twist, the twist at the end is really dumb, and we'll get there. It's well hidden, but it's contrived and silly. But at the end of this, like you said, so Hammerhead was bit. He refuses to admit it to Red though. Priest is got bit, and he's not doing great at all. And a ninja guy cuts the Reaper's nuts off. Fantastic. That was really gross how he escaped that little conundrum.
And don't forget, you got the Blade versus Nomak fight on the scaffolding for some reason.
Yes, but we'll get there. I want to just dine on a little bit about my favorite part of this movie, which of course is the Reaper design and the way they set up their mouths unhinging into 3 different flaps with this like living tongue thing that injects the poison, and it is glorious. And I'm sorry, I'm watching this on a DVD. And by the way, the PS5 upscales DVDs beautifully, like really does. I was amazed how well the PS5 takes care of the upscaling. I didn't even notice it. And I looked at that from a critical eye. I'm like, that's seamless. Like that really looks great. It still looks good.
It did. I mean, I watched this on a TV that wasn't upscale HBO Max, and it still looked really good.
See, I gotta say now every movie or piece of media that has a creature whose faces unflap to reveal teeth and tongue has to owe a debt of gratitude to Guillermo del Toro and Blade 2, because I don't remember that ever being a thing before that. So Stranger Things, you sending checks over to him? Is that what you're doing? Because that's like your characters, like
the Demogorgon.
Oh yeah, everyone's got their face now unflapping.
Season 1 and season 2. They moved on from that.
I guess lose the fourth, but it's like everyone's faces is unflapping these days, and every time I see one, I think of Blade 2. So
I always liked the way it looked. I still do.
The generic enemies in Resident Evil 5 also kind of have the same thing going for them too.
Oh, so. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
See? Yep. They all owe a debt of gratitude to Wesley Snipes' Blade 2. Who would have thought you could draw a direct line? But yeah, every time I see something like that in media, I think of Blade 2. I think of Reapers. It's an amazing effect, and it's such a good design.
Yeah, it does look really cool, and it's still so fucking creepy too.
Gross. It's really gross. I mean, yeah, it's pretty terrifying. So, what did y'all think of? Oh, see, thank you. So,
yeah,
that's Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
Mike just put up in our Skype chat here a picture of a random character in Resident Evil 5 with the face, and his splits into 4. Prefer the design of Blade. Not gonna lie, Blade did it better.
Yeah,
so better.
The Reapers are a really cool design. I mean, I've had conversations with them over the years with one of my friends were like, this is just really cool what they look like and what the whole idea of them. It's just, vampire hunters essentially that are vampires and zombies. It's really, really cool thing.
Do you think Guillermo del Toro was even trying? Do you think they were just like, just give us anything? And he's like, okay, here you go.
They didn't, from again, what I've read, and this could be conjecture, or I could be wrong. They didn't want this. The studio did not want this, and
Why?
He gave them this. Well, because Guillermo del Toro doesn't care. That's who he is.
But this made the movie better,
right? But his next movie was more of what studios wanted, which was Hellboy. And Hellboy, of course, decidedly not this. I like Hellboy. I think it's a good movie.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's good. So this was him just having fun and being gross and wanting to gross people out. So, and it's wonderful.
It's been a different time though, because like now I feel like, especially like after this movie, like you would have had the studio get so involved, like fuck you, you're not doing this, we're taking over. I mean, WB is still doing that.
Well, it's like it's Marvel movies when they didn't care. We weren't in the MCU yet. These were comic book movies where people had a lot more control, I think, and there was a lot less expectations. So, anyway, cool. So so what did you guys think of the cathedral fight? Because that's where Blade and Novak square off. Not sure where Nisa is after all this, by the way. I don't know where she slunk off to, but whatever.
The script said exit left.
Yes.
No,
yes.
Blade tells her to stay there. Whenever Novak wobbles off, he goes, stay here, and he runs after him.
Oh, right, because isn't it because... Oh, that's right, because the sun's coming up. They all have
the sun's coming up.
That's it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. What did you guys think of that kung fu battle in the cathedral?
I was singing "Everybody's Kung Fu Fighting" as I watched that scene in my head. That's what I thought of, because they're just doing all these kicks and all these cool things, and they're bouncing on the scaffolding, and I'm like, this is cool, completely unnecessary, but it is cool still.
It's really off-putting, and it's true, but it's kind of like a different step from the first movie, because like you get used to the Matrix where you have like a dude in a suit, and then you have a dude you have a dude dressed in all leather and they're fighting and it looks good. And then in this you have, Wesley Snipes fighting a guy that's literally just like a hobo who's like throwing up like kung fu guards, and it just looks kind of fucking silly.
It's extremely silly. My thinking was like, when did this like shambling, that's it. When did this shambling, like Reaper dude learn kung fu, like literally learn legit martial arts and understand how to do, front blocks, and like, when did this happen? But my brain said, shut up. You're enjoying yourself, aren't you?
Well, my brain
Yes,
said
I
I know
am.
whose son he is. So that erased all.
My brain was shut off for this whole movie. My brain was shut off so bad for this movie. I'll give you all the funniest example towards the end.
Go for it. All right. Yeah.
But my favorite part of this fight is the part where Wesley Snipes puts on the knives and he does like the 5 punches. And for no reason, he pulls all the way back to give him the last punch.
So ridiculous. It's such a video game moment. It really is. It's such a Arkham Asylum, like, dopey thing that would happen. Yeah. Slow down, slow down, zoom in. It's fine. Fine. I can't,
Yeah. And then you have him, Novak just take it, which I think is always like a really funny thing to watch, where he just like ingests the explosion.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fucking weird. And
weird.
You have a sword fight where, Wesley Snipes has his sword and Novak has a big piece of just debris.
A rebar. Basically a giant piece of rebar on a stick.
Yeah,
This is the
it's
part
not
with the
good for your
concrete?
sword.
He just pulls it out, runs around
Yeah.
with it.
And blocking's not good for your sword. That's how you chip that shit. Trust me, I would know.
I always wondered
too.
that. Like, how much damage do these swords
Right
got
of it.
taken?
Well, I like to make a joke in movies like this where most weapons are made of adamantium, and they slice through anything. They never dull. They cut through pretty much everything, and it's just really fucking silly. Most movies have it. They come out clean and they're perfectly nice, and then Novak runs away because of the light or something.
Yep, because the lights. It's getting daytime, so he's gotta vamoose. Gotta go. So we end up, kind of like at the denouement after, everyone's gathering together, even though it's daytime out now. Like, why are they? I thought they're supposed to go home, but they're still.
Yeah, but they're still inside like the buildings that are protected. This is when Priest gets killed because he's starting to turn.
Yeah, it's great.
So weird how he turned. And you mentioned this, and Hammer Time got bit, and he doesn't turn. But okay,
That's a very interesting point, right? 20 minutes. Did we hear that, right? We all heard that. 20 minutes. Yeah.
sure. And this is when you have, I think, when the movie really kind of becomes, in my opinion, a horror movie for a little while. This is when they find the sewer and they find the guy trapped in the sewer, one of the Reapers, and then you have a whole scene right before they even go down there. You have a whole scene where they do an autopsy on him, and I think that's also kind of a real fucked up part in a sense, where they cut him open and they're showing you how the gut is always hungry like a zombie, and the way that the reason why the stakes didn't work because there's a protective plate around his heart, so you can't get to it.
I think this fiction is really good, but Michael, I'm very I keep saying Michael. Mike, I'm appalled that you would skip past the moment when Priest's head gets scalped. When Priest gets scalped, and you see his brain, and then his whole body explodes, leaving just one half of his head and a still blinking eye. Oh boy, do I love that so much.
It's really good.
It's great. It's just wonderful. And it's so useless and pointless. It's only there because people's heads exploding is in a comic book, cartoony, nonsense, silly way, is very funny and entertaining because it's your expectations being subverted, and that's always good. Just want to point that out. I think it's great.
I also think that it's a really good way to show that these things are really fucking impossible to kill.
Yeah.
Like, they do everything to Priest. They shoot him in the chest like 5 times. They cut his head off. But I was watching this with my roommates, and one thing that I pointed out, it's like, well, that's kind of like how they do in most video games now, where you fight monsters when you shoot them in the head. You do. Some people don't use all of their brain when they think, so just cutting off like a third of it probably won't work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point.
I can say you don't need your whole brain to think. So
that's right.
You don't. You can survive with it because your brain. If different diseases will shrink your brain, you'll still be alive. So
yeah. Radio. So yeah, now we get to the point where we have the autopsy. Joe, what do you think of the autopsy? I love this scene. I think it's wonderful.
I know you did.
Gross.
I thought of you immediately too.
As you should. As you should, sir.
I think the autopsy scene's really good. It's really funny because like the whole reason why this autopsy scene happens is just to imply that also the dumb thing of, oh, we can't just stake them in the chest even though we're vampires and we have super strength. It won't work. And it also, when I think about it now as I'm talking, it kind of preludes to what happens later in the movie. And then you have the really fun scene of, hey, check this shit out, where she cuts her finger and then she drops it and then his body convulses.
Yeah, it's more cementing the science and kind of the lore behind these creatures, which the Blade movies generally do pretty well. Remember the first one, there was a lot of cool vampire lore, right? And in the Blade 2, there's a lot of the lore behind the science behind the Reapers is really good and fun, and it definitely brings more stakes. Like, oh, they literally have bone around their heart. They're actually evolving and trying to figure out the weaknesses of vampires and solve those problems. It's good.
Which was very cool. Especially as the movie progresses and you find out what the Reapers are.
Yeah. But you also have
it's been like what, a 1 minute autopsy or something? Because the 20-minute timer's still ticking right now, so out there.
But I completely forgot to. You have the scene where he makes Norman Reedus crack his mouth open and he calls him a sissy.
Yeah.
he's like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, he's just like, I just want to go and play with the technology and fix the car. I don't want to do any autopsy stuff. This stuff's gross.
I wouldn't want to do it either. I'd be the same guy. Like, I'll go mess with the computers. Okay, you guys have fun.
Look, I can barely clear a snake from my backyard. You're gonna ask me to do monster autopsy? I'm a fancy gentleman. I don't. No, thank you. No, thank you.
No, I'm good. When it comes to anything with blood or anything, I'm walking the other way. Bye, see ya.
I'll tell you a very quick story. I promise, very quick story. When my first son was born, we went to the doctor, beforehand, and they're showing you how to the procedure, not procedure, but here's the room you stay in, and somebody asked oh, and the husband can cut the cord, and Mr. Tucker, are you planning on cutting the cord? I go, no, literally, this is what I said. I'm like, no, I'm not cutting anything. I'm not qualified. I don't cut. I go, that's your job. I said, that's your job. That's what you get to do. I'm not. No, thank you. I literally told a doctor, a medical professional with a PhD, no, thank you. I'm not cutting anything. That's your job. That's what you get. I'm paying you to do that, sir.
A lot of money too.
Yeah. No, that's like when you get fajitas at a Mexican restaurant, they make you build it yourself. No. You build it. You build the whole meal. Why do I have no part in this construction. I can do that at home. No. You build it all, you deliver it to me, and then I ingest it. That's how this exchange works. Anyway.
I can't remember if I cut my sons or not. I do not remember.
I wanted nothing to do with it. I was like, listen,
pretty sure I cannot remember at all. It's been too damn long.
Hey, listen, if that's what you did, and then I respect for the cord cutters, solidarity and all. But
now you're making me think, and I cannot remember. All I remember is playing Metroid Prime before he was born. And I don't remember. Some things don't change with Mike. Okay,
you'll have to come on my show for the Metroid series when it eventually happens in 3 years.
I think I was. I know I was playing Metroid Prime for sure when he had meningitis and we were in the hospital, and he was. I know I was playing because we were there, so I was playing Metroid Prime. I do remember that. Yeah. It's me.
I lost my train of thought.
No worries, man. Well, here, let me see if we can get again.
This is when you go to the sewer. This is the beginning of the sewer entrance where they go down the sewers, and this is what I was saying, where it really feels like a horror movie because they're creeping into the sewer. They decide to split up, and it's just this is also you have a small scene right before this where you have Scud and Whistler making the bomb, which is going to come up very soon. Everybody putting on their real cool armor, and again, it's so weird how. I even noticed they're going to the sewer during the day and they're armoring up. So it's weird how 20 minutes go by real slow in this world.
I know. It's very funny.
Now you mention it. Yeah.
And I love the suit up moments, they're all getting cool. And I'm like, and I don't know where they got this armor from, by the way. Where did all this come from? This custom fit, shiny latexy armor. Where did this all arrive? I guess maybe Whistler has a bunch of stuff in his back in the cave somewhere. He's just gonna trot it out just for this situation. Again, it's a movie, whatever.
I mean, I would assume the idea is that that was the armor they were supposed to wear when they fought Blade. That's probably what it was.
I guess. I guess. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because I think Nisa and the other guy are wearing the weird ninja armor. So I have a weird question that both of y'all can hopefully answer. Why does Blade inject himself with serum? What is that?
So he's not hungry.
That's because he as part of his vampire self, he does thirst for blood. Like he has a blood thirst, the thirst as he calls it all the time. And the serum quells the thirst. That's it. It makes it so he doesn't want to drink people's blood. That's what he does.
So he doesn't drink like blue Go-Gurt from like a tube that he made himself.
No, he not like the old vampire. He's not eating blood jello, in carefully cut up squares. No, he doesn't do that.
Oh no, that's the plot for Morbius.
Well, that was in this movie too. The scene earlier that we skipped that we didn't need to talk about, where he's eating the blood.
Yeah,
stuff.
we don't watch. Yeah, it's more just him.
I
have no idea. I have not seen Morbius, nor do I plan on seeing it.
Morbius drinks fake blood that he invented himself. That's why he's a Nobel Prize winner, and it looks like blue Go-Gurt.
Oh, well, fantastic.
When does he say it's Morbin time?
No.
Oh no! At the end of the movie.
Okay.
Oh no, that's not a real thing.
Oh, that's real? You weren't joking?
No, it's not real.
I was gonna say oh my god. I heard all the memes that are going around, so that's why I was curious.
He does
perish the thought.
He does do a vampire Kamehameha though. I will admit that, and that's the part where I lost it in the movie.
That sounds really great. All right, so they're getting suited up. There's a lot of little more character beats. I do like the moment between Whistler and Scud. They kind of have this little come together moment. Again, little father-son kind of. We are men and we are colleagues of a similar ilk, and they make the light bomb, which is ridiculous, as is the box of light bombs. Because why want to have one when you can just have like 20 in a box with a timer? This leads to a very tense, like you said, Mike, where it is like it's a horror movie in the sewers, and there's attempts to create some character beats and some relationship between Nisa and Blade. It fails. Not worth talking about. Moving on. This doesn't. And they also are armed with pheromones. So
this is odd.
This is odd. Michael or Joe, either you guys can team up on this if you like. If you had the following tools in your arsenal: a thing of pheromones that will attract the Reapers because you pulled it out of the glands of the autopsy. Cool. And you were able to synthesize it into something fine, whatever. And yet a box full of bombs that had to be like manually. I don't know why they couldn't just remote detonate this. Clearly they had the technology, but whatever. Would you say, hey, Scud, instead of the plunger that looks like you pulled it off of like a toilet assembly, could you just make this like a remote control, like the thing that you made that goes in the back of Ron Perlman's head that has remote control, right? Take that remote control and just make that thing. Because what you could just do is like three little, two teams into the sewers, drop it into a big area, start spraying the pheromones. When you hear them while walking, hit the button. But no, that would not allow our entire team to
cool scenes of them sneaking around and them getting attacked and using the grenades. Where I really like this stuff, and like the scene where where Blade is just above all the Reapers and shooting them, or the part where they walk into the pool and he's like, and he realizes it's a trap, and the other guy just gets massacred and dropped and pulled into the water and just ripped to pieces. Blood. I mean, it's cool. I don't care if it's logical, but it's cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Simple question, because it's been like 2 years. It's 2 years, so spoiler warning for everyone. Bill, why didn't Ant-Man just go up Thanos' butt and just get big? There's a lot of questions.
That's true.
People could have done.
That's
or X in America.
That I never thought of that, and that would have been a better solution. That would have fixed everything. I guess they weren't thinking. They weren't thinking it through. Well, Tattoo is turning into a Reaper slowly but surely, and waiting for the best time to do so. By the way, in the most atmospheric way possible.
I do like it when he turns and kills. Who does he kill again? Just one of the random guys.
No, he kills
Donnie Yen. Oh
yeah. Oh yeah.
He's like, I had enough acting. I'm done with this movie.
But so he kills Donnie Yen. And we can just take each moment on its own because everything gets cut between these different three teams that have kind of split up. And obviously that's just for tension. All of this tension, by the way, and I agree with you, Mike, this is all fantastic tension and it's really great action. It's obviously a better movie than them scurrying like through the tunnels. I'm just being a jerk.
No, you brought up a logical point that I didn't think about, which makes this part a lot dumber.
And Ant-Man up the butt of Thanos is like the most logical thing I've heard all day. So Listen,
Yeah.
we all have good ideas. We all have great ideas. These guys don't though, and this all is obviously destined to fail. I think there's actually an attempt here when Tattoo Face goes after Red. I wish there was more time spent with them, but this is a Blade movie. We're not going to spend a ton of time on every character's motivations and relationships.
No, and they don't. They're just throwaway characters. I mean, the Blood Pack was meant just to look cool. I mean, this is before the time where they would have had all the toys that they would have now. They were just there to look cool and be in a scene and probably in the trailer or something and make you go watch the movie and then that's it.
Yeah, but I do think it is effective because there is established a connection between the two of them, and when she realizes the only way she's going to stop him is to find a manhole, walk up, run up the ladder, and undo the manhole, so they both kind of Romeo and Juliet kill each other or kill themselves. It's kind of sad. I had a moment like, oh man, that sucks.
Wait,
I had a moment.
Did you get that from that, Bill and Michael? Mike?
What do you mean?
I got that as she was running up the ladder trying to escape, and she fucking forgot it was daytime. That's kind of what I got from that scene.
No, I caught it. I read it as she knew exactly what she was doing and knew she knew she wasn't going to be able to. I guess they didn't give her a light bomb. I guess so. She figured the only way I took it as I'm dead regardless. I don't want to become one of them, and I don't want the person I love to stay as one of them. So this is my solution, and that's how I took it. Yeah. I didn't take it as dumbass. I forgot what time it was. I didn't.
That can't be true. I wouldn't be surprised with this movie, but
I took it as like this little Romeo and Juliet moment because they took the time to establish the relationship. They really did. So it was a little moment. I was like, oh man, that's sad. But nobody else that I really care about, especially Chupa, who wants to get his revenge.
This is stupid.
Yeah,
because since Priest died, Blade should lose somebody too. So his solution is we're going to take Whistler, beat the shit out of him in a tunnel full of things that can kill us. And that's going to be our solution. We're going to beat him slowly, but we're going to make sure we give him enough time to activate that pheromone thing before we start fighting. So, yeah.
Very short-sighted, sir. I mean, that's the guy who built the things. I mean, I know him and Scud did it, but I don't know. That's where you got your cool tech from.
It is cool though when at one point when he's almost about to kill him, and then the Reapers come and just murder him instead. Like that was cool.
That's great.
Part I didn't understand. They make a comment in this part where they don't need night vision to see. Yet earlier in the club, Nisa is using a flashlight to see. So I was a little like, that doesn't make sense. There. Movie. You can't even follow your own lines. Like, this is going to take 20 minutes to change. Oh, 20 minutes, huh? Instead of just saying, like, they change quickly. Or they change within a few hours. No, we give you exact time, then we go, throw that out the window.
So. Also, weird fact about this movie. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I think it's actually a pretty cool detail that they put in this. When the vampires explode, they explode orange. When the Reapers explode, they explode blue and a little more chrysalis.
Oh.
I did notice they explode blue, but I assumed that was just to differentiate between the two types. So, but yes, I did notice it is a cool detail, and their explosions are more violent. Except for Nisa, of course, who flakes away beautifully and lovingly. Most of the time, they're usually like exploding or crumbling when they are dispatched. But yeah, no, it's a little more violent too when they go. They kind of pop, which is really satisfying. Yeah. And then of course, finally we are. The guy whose name we still don't know, the other ninja, he bites it, like you said, Mike.
That's a good death, though.
Yeah, he just gets dragged
it's a cool death.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite parts. And then where he drops the grenade and he waits, and then as the grenade's going off, the Reapers are popping out of the water, and he just slices them up, even though they should be burned. But I don't care. It was a really cool scene. I'm like, this is illogical because it's not how you already proved this work. But I don't care. This is cool. Just cut them up. And then being chased by Reapers is just, I don't like stuff like this normally. And scary. You can protest, as you know well, Bill, but this was just watching them run down the hallway. And then the part where he runs into Ron Perlman, he's like, hey, I left the detonators back there. And he's trying to start. He's like, oh, did I mention the lever stuck? Like,
always
so good.
Yeah. Always trying to get him. He just can't stand him.
And like he takes all the pheromones and runs off with the pheromones and sprays himself down. Like, come get me. And just to save Nisa, which doesn't really fit the character. But fine, whatever. I don't care. It's just I really like it. And the fact that he's the only person that can survive the bomb because he doesn't get hurt by sunlight. Why he didn't just drop a grenade like a little bit before, maybe cut down the amount of people that are trying to kill him before he set off the bomb. But hey, whatever. It's still very cool scene. I think he kicks the bomb finally to make it work too, or something like that.
Something like that. He hits with the hilt of his something like that.
That was cool.
Doesn't Blade also have this really wonderful moment when he lights off, I think, his first blood or light bomb? Something like, "You do not know who you are fucking with," like something like that. Like
there's something like that.
Something so stupid, and he just throws it into water. Bloop, kabloosh.
I really like these grenades too.
They are cool. They are super cool.
They look like holy hand grenades.
It's a holy hand grenade of Antioch.
And I do like the effects of him setting off the bomb because he doesn't. You think he would have told them, "Hey, I'm setting the bomb. Like you guys might want to, get cover." But
right.
after he sets off the bomb, like a little bit later, when you see Ron Perlman character, you see he's missing part of his face because it got burned off because he wasn't secured in the bomb. Where Nisa happened to be underwater, so she was safe.
Yeah, because well, that's exactly right. Because UV light can't go underneath water, right? Like if I'm swimming underneath water, I can't get sunburned.
You can.
Because UV light. Yeah, of course I can. That's my point. It would have saved her. It would have destroyed her regardless. On being underwater is not going to prevent you from UV fire.
I didn't think about that until you mentioned it just now. I went, "Oh, I used to swim all the time and get sunburned." Wait a second.
Of course you do, because water does not block UV light. If that were the case, yes, it actually does, because it's like water is like a reflective. It's a reflective material that also passes through light. If that were the case, you wouldn't need sunscreen. You just get wet all the time and you never get burnt by the sun. So that was a silly thing. And it's also silly that the light comes around, turns corners like fire.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
Fire. UV fire, evidently, is what this thing produces.
Well, it was a bunch of explosives. Wasn't it attached to explosives? Well, no, and then it would have burned. Then it would have blew up Blade. I didn't think about that. Okay.
No, it's just light bombs. It's not fire.
Yeah, it's light.
Blade essentially just turned on like 30 flashlights at once.
Basically. Yeah. But light doesn't bend around. Light won't bend around a something like that. It wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work.
I get what you mean. I was going to say that too. It doesn't make any sense that it clears out the entire sewers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like something out of Bomberman. Like it doesn't work that way. Sorry. Anyway.
I guess he had enough little, fire upgrades, so he was able to make it go all the way around.
There you go.
And you have a small scene where after that, Nomad gives Whistler a ring and whispers in Whistler's, ear what the truth is, and doesn't kill him for some reason because, why not? Movie's got a movie. Blade gives Nisa blood because she's dying, which, okay, fine, whatever. And then while he's doing that, while he's saving Nisa, he gets shocked and then captured. And so does Whistler get captured. This part was kind of like, I remembered all this because I remember the movie, but I'm like, okay, that doesn't, they like shocking people in this movie. Or in Blade in general, because doesn't he get shocked in the first movie too? Remember
I
right?
think so.
Yes.
Yeah, how they catch him. They just shock the hell out of him.
Yep, they shock him. Yeah, this is the scene you're mentioning when he ends up in that video game chamber that can absolutely have no possible use. Is that where they have all the little embryos?
Yes, that all comes up. There's a bunch of stuff that you have the Blade team. It starts off when Nisa wakes up in the father's room, and this is when I think she doesn't find out yet about Nomad, but he kind of talks about how that it was all a trap and this and that, and this is where the Blade team wakes up in a big open vat with a blood pool surrounded by guys pointing guns at them.
Yeah, right.
Which they've had guns pointed all the time. Like you think they're like, okay, we'll just do it's just. And this is when you see the vampire embryos. And this is when this is when the vampire guy talks about how he created Nomad. It was a failed experiment, but one day they'll be Daywalkers.
Right.
So I had a really, really egghead moment at this moment. Because like I said, I turned my movie off. I turned my brain off for this whole movie. And he's like, oh yeah, Novak is my son. I look over at my roommate and I go, who the fuck is Novak? And he looks at me and he goes, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, who the hell is Novak, dude? He's like, the vampire guy, the guy with the bald head. Oh, wow. So I had a really, really brain dead moment there.
Wow. Listen, you know what? If you ask me in 2 weeks, what's the name of the lead Reaper in Blade 2? I will probably not say Novak. I'll say something else. I don't really know.
Was it Novak or Nomad?
It might be Nomak. I've been saying Novak the whole time.
I've been saying with the V, but I don't really care.
I think it's Nomad.
Nah,
I had it with subtitles on, so I should know, but I wasn't. I didn't give a shit, to be honest, though.
I
just kept calling You're Little in my head. So
I love the fact you had subtitles on it, and I know that's how you watch movies because you really want to capture all of this delicious dialogue, right? You just want to savor the flavor.
Because you get things that aren't sometimes in the movie, like it'd be person talking off screen or something that you can't even hear. I love it.
That's pretty cool.
I watch everything with subtitles. Everything. It's just how I watch TV.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who do.
Yeah,
it also works great when you're editing, which I was not doing during this, unfortunately, because I can't for movies I watch for the show that I actually watch legit. And
I watch movies with subtitles because me and my friends talk over it and make fun of it half the time. So that's what I do.
Yeah, that's always fun.
I just like subtitles. So yeah, that's all I got. Yeah. And then you have this where Nisa gets all mad because she finds out what he was my brother and you didn't tell me. And I was wondering here this part after she runs away, Blade pulls the remote out to blow up Reinhardt's head because they make a comment how they took all his stuff. Wouldn't they have taken the remote too just because?
Yeah, I mean, where was he hiding that? In his butt along with Ant-Man? Like, what was he? Where was he? Where did he stow that?
I didn't see his hand go in his ass, so I don't.
I mean, he was wearing his tight pants, so I don't know, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
But
I thought the same thing. Like,
why didn't they just take that too? I mean, you think if you're taking everybody's weapon, you'd be like, oh, since that remote doesn't work, we'll just leave it.
Maybe that's for his Apple TV. I don't know. I mean, what harm could this thing be? And especially,
it's just a weird little scene that he still had. I mean, again, it's just movies. Movies got a movie, but I thought it was funny. I did laugh at this scene because I remembered this where Reinhardt pulls it out of the back of his head. He's like, see, it's useless. And then this is when Scud goes, I betrayed you the whole time, B.
Yep. Scud was a young man who smokes 35 joints in the process of this movie and watches Powerpuff Girls while, I guess that's not a big deal.
Thank you. I forgot about that. I like how there's tons of scenes of Powerpuff Girls are always on. Just throughout this whole movie, there's even parts where he's not even on, like, one of the vampires will look at, like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's just always on in the background. It's just hilarious to me that it's there.
I mean, okay, so I guess Power, but yeah, you trusted the person that you befriended who calls himself Scud turns out to be not so trustworthy. But of course, go ahead, please.
Oh yeah, apparently the reason why Powerpuff Girls was on the whole time is because the company that made Blade also had the rights to the Powerpuff Girls, so they just had it on the whole fucking time.
That's good. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Stupid,
cool.
But it does make sense.
That's fine. I don't know, whatever. I think it's a nice little dichotomy, I guess, or nice little subversion.
And then, you know what? As a guy, I gotta say that I did not realize this when I did my edibles in Vegas. Playing something colorful, and I understood that reference now. I had a friend who used to get high all the time. He told me he loved watching cartoons, so it makes perfect sense.
Oh, like the
apparently when you're high, cartoons are much more like because all the colors and everything, and it's much more exciting for you when you're high. So I didn't watch cartoons. I played Donkey Kong Country 2 for my one experience, but it was cool. So that's what I think Powerpuff Girls was on too, because he's high the whole damn time. He's fucking smoking joints.
Yeah, so he turns out to be no good and be a bit of a jerk face. Still good. It works really well. What doesn't work well for me, and I'm curious how y'all feel about it, is I forget. That's right. Scud grabs the head.
He grabs the bomb.
He grabs the bomb, and then Blade goes, just it does work, or something like that. Hits the button, explodes him like in a Monty Python, just goofy.
Oh, he had the whole line before that. He says two things. One, I knew I've been on to you the whole time since you joined them. And two, the bomb works. And he blows them up. You think at some point when you said I'm on to you said, oh, maybe I should throw the bomb, not hold on to it.
Yeah, they cut to Norman Reedus kind of like shocked a little bit. Nice little bit of facial acting. And then he hits the button. Here's the question. How did you know he was on you the whole time? Blade is very good at this. He is very good at always knowing. He's always 2 steps ahead of everybody for no reason. And there's no good reason why you have been onto him the whole time. And there's no way that you didn't build that bomb. Like, how did you know it really does work? Like the fake MacGuffin. How did you get this thing? Like, you weren't sitting there tinkering with it next to Whistler. Obviously, Scud is the one who made it because he's the one who's talking about it.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know because it was attached to his head the whole time, right?
Yeah, and Whistler didn't come till later.
And it's not, he didn't do like a, you know what I mean? It's a very writery, very scripty thing, right?
I didn't think about that, but yeah, you're right.
It's a thing you write, but you don't really think about. You just want to move on to the next scene. And
us breaking down this movie is making me like this movie less, and I'm not okay with that.
not for me at all. I like it in despite of all of its.
I still do. It's just funny you're bringing up points. I'm like, that's stupid.
No, it's just I'm actually looking for someone to say no. It's XYZ led to that because maybe it was in the text and I just didn't notice it. But
no, I don't think so. He just says
weird.
it at random time.
Why would was there two buttons like a garage door opener? Like, I supposed to hit A.
He does something with the remote that then activates the bomb. Like I don't know.
How would you know that was the thing? And for that to be the case, the person who made it had to have that little failsafe in there. And I know, Blade, you didn't make anything.
Movie's got a movie?
I know.
Movie's got a movie.
I know. This is what I do.
And then they shock him more. They let him kill Scud, and then like, okay, I guess we'll shock you some more. Then they finally shock him. You think they would have started shocking him, like when he first started talking, like just shock him. But no, we're gonna wait till he blows up the guy, then shock him.
Yeah. Well, and again, they need to shock him. They can't kill him because they want to harvest all of his organs. To here's more data we're getting. That
seems logical.
It's kind of like Black Widow, right? Wasn't that their whole goal? Take apart her brain.
Yeah, cut open her head to see why she went the way she did. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so it's very similar. See, Black Widow owes a debt of gratitude to Blade 2.
What?
Have you seen
Black Widow? Florence Pugh's character gets tied down to a table, and they're going to cut her head open at one point because they want to know why she was able to resist the drug or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I don't remember. Then again, I didn't pay a lot of attention to that movie.
It's on Disney Plus. Go watch it.
Yeah, I did watch it. That's what I'm saying. I don't.
Go watch it.
It's extraordinarily average, and apologies, Helena. I know you love this film, but we had this conversation already a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So
we'll be live at this time. So.
Oh, neat. Very good.
Because I changed my dates around.
Aha. So anyway, so they so we're kind of all leading up to these final confrontations, right? We have the operation table where they put those spikes through Blade's wrists, a series trademark.
That hurt me.
Oh,
that's got to be so painful.
I can't. It's so it is never pleasant. And these actually had these little spikes that stick out and shrunk down.
Yeah, so it would lock it in, so you can't just pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I did not like it.
No, nope.
Not like it at all. And he's not even on that table that long. They do the stakes, and then it cuts to Whistler, I can't remember where he is. I know he gets out of handcuffs, but I don't remember who's guarding him or what was going on.
He's with Ron Perlman, yeah, and they're kind of having a back and forth.
Oh, because Ron Perlman's not dead yet. Okay, then I think he's Ron Perlman beating the shit out of him or something, and then this is when then he gets out the handcuffs, smacks him in the face, something, and runs or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
Well, what happens is that Novak, who I'm going to continue calling Novak.
Oh, okay.
He starts his siege.
Oh, okay, and that's what distracts them.
Just wrecking on nameless, faceless cronies and goons. So cool. I mean, and evidently none of these police officers or security people were appropriate. None of these security people can shoot worth a damn. They're just spraying and praying, and he's. Well,
my guess is they're familiars. Is what my guess. What they were all human.
They have to be. Yeah, they have to.
Yeah,
be. Yeah.
My guess is that they're all human.
That's how I took it. And again, it makes sense that they can't shoot. I mean, he's also moving really fast. Well, plus the bullets don't do anything. Hitting them is just useless.
Yeah.
So you shoot them all you want. You're just going to keep coming.
Yeah, but you're going to stop him, and he definitely hurt. I mean, we've already established that he can be hurt and stopped.
Yes, but he's also way more powerful than the regular Reaper, so I think it doesn't affect him much. You have to, and he's killing him so fucking fast. He's ripping.
I mean, initially when he first meets Blade, he takes a bullet straight to the head and doesn't even flinch. So that's a very good point. He just kind of So this is all really fun. Whistler, like you said, evades the much younger and stronger Ron Perlman, I guess. I don't know how. I don't know how an old man who's not a vampire knocks out Ron Perlman long enough to escape, but he does. He rescues Blade because clearly he knows what the hieroglyphs mean on the control board.
I can buy that because they had been studying the things in the first movie, so I can buy that.
Okay. He also throws Wesley Snipes' shirt back on him too for some reason.
This is very true. I mean, we only get one opportunity to see his abs. I'm assuming that was in the contract.
And my wife fell asleep before this party. Even that's the whole reason I bribed her to watch this movie. I'm like, he's going to be shirtless in this movie at some point.
At some point.
We were just watching U.S. Marshals about a week ago randomly because I just put it on. He's also in that movie, and she made a comment. I'm like, Shape and Blade 2 also. Like, he's in his prime.
Yeah,
Not more, but...
Yeah, I assume it's in his contract. Need at least one shirtless scene because I work really hard in these abs, and I need to make sure they're displayed prominently for all to enjoy.
It's okay, Mike. The only way I convinced my husband to go see Deadpool, the first one, was because apparently you could see Ryan Reynolds junk in that movie.
Can you?
It's whenever he's having the fight with Ajax in the fire, and like he gets pierced in the fire. Whenever he's like leaned over and like has a pole through him, you can kind of see like his wing wong chucking around.
Really? Okay. I don't remember it. It's been a while since I've seen Deadpool, so have to keep an eye out for it then.
It's a good movie.
It is good. I enjoyed Deadpool. It's good. So we now get back to the blood cavern. Blade needs blood.
This was funny to me, where they just drop him into the blood, and and he like crawls into it, and then you just come and Ron Perlman is shooting at him with the stakes, and he thinks he killed him and turns his back, and then he climbs out of he starts to rise out of the blood.
I think it's really weird that he thinks he killed him, because I swear, like, Ron Perlman has not killed a single fucking thing with that shotgun this whole movie. And he makes like 3 random ass shot where you could tell he misses like the first 2, and he's just like, oh yeah, I totally got him. And then he walks away.
The third, I think it's like 3 shots, and the third shot that he fires is the shot with him. You can see him standing. Blade is already in the water, and he is shot the third shot in the air, like almost like a victory, like hey. So it is, he is not even not 2 years blood pack. 2 years. I expect more from you guys. You guys are terrible. You're not good at this. I mean, I don't know. Accounting is in your future. Clearly this is not for you. Wasn't there a moment? Is there a moment when Blade feeds, drinks blood, but it's not enough, so he has to go take a blood bath? Or am I thinking of Nisa or Nisa when she has to? I forget. So somebody sucks somebody blood at some point.
Nisa does.
Okay.
No, Blade does in the first movie, not in this movie.
Right. I always like in these vampire movies, the first one especially, when Blade starts feeding to get his power back, to fill his power meter. They always feels like this is the real stuff. You know, like turns a little more primal, where it's like he starts feeling his vampirism a bit more. Like the serum's fine, but the thirst is really good. Like that's the good stuff. And I think that happens a bit when Nisa does the same later. I couldn't remember if that was a part of this, so clearly not. Ignore everything I just said. So he takes a bloodbath. Hooray. And we get another fight scene. A really fun, cool kung fu fight scene on a clear, window floor against a bunch of goons that have no chance whatsoever.
I like this though, and they're still trying to shock him.
Yeah, they're still trying to shock him.
Everything is going to hell. Nomak is running through the place, killing everybody. Hey, we still got to do our job. We got to shock him. We can't kill him.
This fight scene is 99% good. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, please, and whoever's listening to this, please go back and watch this fight scene. There is a scene where he's Blade's doing stuff. He's face jabbing, he's palm striking these guys. And there's a scene where this guy wraps his arms around Blade, like from like the waist or whatever, and Wesley Snipes booty bumps him and makes like the fucking silliest face. And it's so out of nowhere. It's because you imagine he'd like either break away, like pull his arms up. No, he booty bumps the guy away from him and then continues the fight. And it's just really silly.
I don't remember this. I am going to go back and look at this. YouTube, Blade 2 booty bump fight move.
Hold on.
Yeah, hang on. I am literally going to do this. Hang on a second. Y'all just talk amongst yourselves about this scene. I think it's good. I enjoy that. It's just another example of this movie doing what it does well. Again, the fights are very varied, and this is fun. And again, Wesley Snipes isn't doing much, but he's definitely exhibiting martial arts. Like he is demonstrating martial arts in a really cool way. It's not lots of wires and matrix flipping. He's just fighting like a person would do. And yeah, it's nice. It's a good example of that style.
Yeah, and he grabs like the stick and he starts, hitting guys back and forth too. One thing I have to admit, like even though people say these movies are really cheesy, the first one I might actually go back and watch, even though I watched the little clip version of it. this movie has really great fight scenes choreography wise, and I think 3 does as well. Besides 3 being like a really, really silly movie and really kind of bad.
Vampire Pomeranian.
Is there a vampire Pomeranian?
Yeah, there's a vampire Pomeranian.
That's right. There is a vampire Pomeranian.
Might have to watch Blade 3 there. But this whole fight scene ends with Blade tombstoning a dude into glass. So I mean, it's
that's what that was. That's what that was. Okay.
I was okay with that. As dumb as that scene is,
it's
it
cool
worked.
as hell.
It was.
There's
Stupid as hell,
wrestling.
but cool.
There is a lot of wrestling style moves in this. I just watched the booty bump moment, and that is really stupid. But there's lots of wrestling stuff. And that final, like, is that a suplex?
Tombstone.
That is a tombstone, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as the kids say, it was lit as fuck. So
That hurt me.
That was good. That was very good. And I'm now watching this fight scene, and it's fun. It's kinetic. The editing is fantastic. The pacing. And again, this choreography is excellent. Like, it's really good, energetic fight choreography, even though you have 20 people just standing around. And Ron Perlman, who's a vampire, just going, come on, go get him. What are you idiots doing? I'm standing here watching. Yeah, pretty great. Boom. Awesome. I just live narrated that. I just live narrated that entire fight scene for you and your audience. Apologies.
The tombstone thing is so cool, though.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, after this, you have what is hands down probably the most badass thing in this movie, where Ron Perlman tries to make a joke of like, you know, the one thing my father said before he killed my mother is if you want something done right, you do it yourself. And then he tries to stab Blade, and he catches it with his hands and like pulls the blade all the way up. And like Wesley Snipes isn't struggling, but like Ron Perlman character is trying his hardest just to not look like a complete wuss. And then you have, which is the answer for your question, Bill, my God, Blood Pack, because he takes the sword away, asks him if he blushes, and it flips over and he cuts him in half.
Yes.
These dudes are not worth a fuck.
they're shit.
And then the best part at the end of this, Whistler throws him the sunglasses. He catches it, and it looks like it was CGI, and he puts them on.
Yeah, I think it was. I bet you it was.
I don't think it was.
It looked like it was CGI.
He's pretty far away.
Yeah, the throw looks like it was. I mean, and they're really there, but not when he's throwing them. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably. And again, who knows? Yeah. Maybe they sped it up. You know, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, it could be a proper effect. Let's see. I'm watching it now.
I just don't see this movie doing proper effects.
I don't care enough to even examine that more. But no, I agree. I think it's a wonderful effect. I think it still kind of holds up pretty good. The him being sliced in half. And yeah, like really, Blood Pack, more like Blood Punks. Get it?
They're not very good at all in this movie. They would not have
Terrible.
succeeded at all in trying to kill him.
All right. So anyway, now we finally get to our final fight as we kind of, all the fun people are dead now. So we're really only left with Whistler's fine. But he's inconsequential at this point. I love how the fact that at the very, very end, Whistler just finds his way there, like as if he had a map of the place, like an old man stumbling through a mall. Like, oh, what? But
it's definitely CG'd in the one part where you see Whistler and it's throwing from Whistler. There's a little scene where you can tell it's CG'd when it goes into his hands because it just like flies into his hands and it just catches it just right. Yeah, it's completely CG.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, so fine. So sorry. Yeah. So anyway, so we get to the point where we're really left with the boring people. We have boring Nisa, who, let's be honest, we haven't mentioned this. We haven't mentioned her much because she's extremely boring and not good. We have Novak, who's at this point, his motivations are extremely weird. Like, so you could have killed Blade. You didn't really need Blade to get into where your father is. Like, you clearly knew where that was. So why did you go through the whole hassle of telling Whistler the truth about him just to fight Blade at the end? It seemed very strange. And it seemed like the movie just needed to have a final fight against the bad guy character. But I thought this subversion of, hey, maybe Novak is one of the good guys. As he says to Blade all the time, we want the same thing. Like, we want these assholes eradicated. But maybe the idea is that either both of them know both of them can't exist in this world. You can't have a Blade and a Reaper, you know? So One of them has to go, I guess. But very weird as far as motivations go, because you have plenty of opportunities to finish him off.
The way I see it is it's kind of a weird thing. From what I'm assuming, Novak isn't he's not a perfect Reaper, because you notice that they said when they capture one of them, like they still need to feed, even though they can survive off human and vampire blood. They can't survive more than like a couple of hours without it. So I'm assuming that, and then Novak realizes that Blade was sent after him from his father. So you kind of have a weird thing where it's like, okay, this is why I want my revenge, because, he says he's my father. He says he wants me, he loves me, and he says that he wants me to do everything I can, but that's just a lie. I'm a failure, and he's just going to have me thrown in the fire pit for a new generation to be made.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true. That's fair.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this is the very brooding DNA tower, because every time I see something like that, I'm like, that's something fucking stupid's going to happen with that, and I was right. So the count dad father person bleeds blue, which I think is really funny.
Yeah, I don't know why. I never understood that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, I just don't understand it. But hey, it's fine. He dies. He gets his comeuppance. Nisa knows that she's now been bitten, and she's like, I want to die looking at the sun. And then he, like a samurai, slowly but surely walks her to the edge of the, this beautiful area. They just happen to be, not beautiful area, but this, I don't know, what you call it? Helipad, maybe? Helipad. That makes sense.
Helipad is the right word, I think.
Yeah, helipad, and in his arms, she slowly flakes away in a beautiful, romantic way. No way like her rest of her brethren, who just crumble to bits and bones in violent manners when they're murdered by Blade. No. She gets to have this wonderful just ashing away. And that's how she goes. And we're all back to just Whistler and Blade. Everybody else is dead. Just Blade and Whistler again.
Oh, and then during the Nomak fight, if you notice, he does like an elbow drop on Nomak does on Blade at one point. Like he literally climbs to something and jumps off and does an elbow drop.
And there's fake blood, and there's CGI blood comes out of his mouth when he delivers those elbow drops. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Terrible. Ironically, this movie ends where the first movie begins, back to square one. Blade and Whistler.
Blade and Whistler. Who else do you need, though? The band is back together. We're no longer concerned he's going to turn. That thread was closed. They do actually, throughout the movie, kind of cement this little bit of fear, like, oh no, is Whistler going to turn? But they kind of abandoned that around halfway through and assumed, okay, it's been a couple days now. He's good.
You also have a really silly, like, Wesley Snipes backflipping and like CGI into like the fighting ring like right beforehand too.
Yeah, that's true.
You have a lot of dumb shit. Yeah.
And then we get to probably the best part of the whole movie, where you see what probably, I'm assuming, 15 to 30 minutes beforehand, Wesley Snipes walking into an adult shop and going, all right, I'm going to be in 3. Here's like $50. Just make sure he goes to 3. It's going to be the fucking funniest thing ever. I'll be in there. Just trust me. It's a guy with a boa. Just make sure he goes to 3.
This is a good scene. It really is. He's like, and then, the guy walks in there and he pulls out, I got my razor blades, and it just...
He pulls out 3 tissues just so he's all prepared. The booth comes up. There's Blade, and what, you thought I forget? And then sword through the head. Roll credits. I agree with you. It's probably my favorite part of the movie. I love how stupid it is. That is better than any MCU end credit or stinger or anything. That honestly, I'm serious. The pure brutality, silliness, grossness, it's this entire movie all in one like 30-second moment. I freaking love
Even
that.
before he goes back there, he asks, are the women live? Well, last time I checked. Just so funny.
And that's Blade 2.
Blade 2.
Chef I feel like, aren't those supposed to be only one-way mirrors, or you're not supposed to be able to see through them, if I remember correctly? 2-way mirrors. I feel like I've never been to a peep show, so I can't speak for it. But I feel like you wouldn't. The woman. I don't know. It just seemed odd to me. Maybe that's not how that works. I don't know.
I think the way it works is as long as one of the lights are off, you can't see into the other one. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I think that's the
I don't
way it
know anything
works.
about those
Yeah.
things. I never really looked them up or thought about them, but it was just funny. It's just a great scene though. It's so good. And you are right. It is. I wouldn't say it's better than some of the Marvel Stingers. So it's really good. Better than a lot of them. But, so, all right, anything else we should say about the movie? I think we covered everything.
I think we covered it up.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go to shelf stacker box. And Joe, do you want to go first?
Sure. Since you mentioned me first, I'll put this in the stack. It's not going on the shelf, but like this is all obviously like you one day like, you know what I haven't watched in a while? The Blade movies. Just watch all 3 movies. Probably watch these right before they release the new Blade movie or whatever they're doing.
There's another one coming at some point. They haven't announced when or anything, but yeah, there is one coming because Blade was cast.
Yeah, Blade's been cast.
Yep.
Marshala Ali.
Yeah, good actor too. I'm really excited.
Good.
He looks like Blade. I'll give him that.
Oh yeah, and he's an exceptional actor. If you haven't seen, I think he's in Moonlight. Is that right? Yes, he's an extraordinary actor. Yeah, so I'm really stoked to see that. It's gonna be great.
I'm definitely excited too. And Bill, what about you?
Man, this is I think my movie fan brain is like kind of says like Joe. This is a stack, but this is on the shelf for me because boy oh boy, I had such a good time with this movie. Sometimes my enjoyment of a thing has to supersede my logical understanding of its flaws. And while I guess the nuts and bolts of this are definitely stack worthy, I just had such a good time last night watching it again. Even though, again, I've seen this movie easily 20 times through the course of my long, sad life. So I think, I love it. I think the action's great. The gross out stuff is just right up my alley. The creature horror, the body horror is fun. A lot of that it really speaks to me. And even though it's silly, it has some bad performances, lots of plot holes. Mr. Del Toro wanted to make a fun movie. That's what he was quoted as saying. I wanted to make something that was really fun. And he did. And job done. So this goes on the shelf for me.
Okay. For me, this is also going on the shelf. I had a great time just watching this movie. I really enjoyed it. I remember always liking this movie, and I was entertained the whole way through, and it still holds up. I was upset it wasn't on Netflix. I thought it was, and I had to log into Amazon Prime, then log into HBO Max to find it. But that's not the movie's fault. But it's really good. I really, really enjoyed it, and so it's definitely going on the shelf. And I feel like this is probably the best of the 3 by far. Easy. Even I like 3 a lot. I still think this might be better. I know 3. It'll be interesting watching 3 again.
Ugh. I actually prefer this to 1, I think. I like this better. I think it's more fun, more gross, obviously, and I think just better constructed. So I take this over 1.
Yeah, I think it's a better movie than 1 too.
So. And I have to stop looking at Wikipedia articles about Guillermo del Toro because I just read something that's very upsetting, and I don't want to hate the man. So I think we should probably. Damn it, Del Toro. Why can't people just be cool? Damn it.
Because power corrupts.
I just in 2009, Del Toro signed a petition that called for the release of Roman Polanski. So fuck that. That's not good. Damn it, Del Toro. Like,
wasn't that guy a pedophile?
Oh boy, yes he was. Yes. Fuck. Damn it. Why do I look at Wikipedia? I should be paying attention to the show, not reading out. So annoying.
Yeah, at least he wasn't the pedophile, but still, yeah. I mean, the guy can stay away.
Just stay where he is. Anyway, sorry to ruin everyone's day about Del Toro. He's still an exceptional director. I love his work. That's kind of shitty. And
he's also 88. What does it matter? Just leave him wherever he is and let him die there. Like, what does he need to come here for?
This was back in 2009. Maybe
okay.
He's changed his tune. Maybe, right? People grow. People change.
Yeah, that's a whole decade. It's good. He's good.
He's a decade. That's like, it's more than a decade. It's more like, 30 years since COVID started, right? Does it feel like? Okay.
Yeah, as long as he hasn't doubled down on that, I can live with it.
And Bill, where can people find you at?
Oh, I do a podcast entitled The Gamer Looks at 40. I mean, if you listen to this fine program, Mike is very generous and kind and mentions it every episode, which is just the sweetest thing possible. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But if you don't know what it is, because he just says my name, which is still awesome. It's like a series of podcast documentaries about different games and eras and systems and stories. And all these episodes are built around the personal stories of people who live them. So yeah, think of like a documentary of everyday people sharing stories of why they like certain games, how different games change their lives. I don't know when this is releasing, but the next episode coming out is this month. All right. By the time this releases, I'll have an episode out about a person I've met on Twitter who literally had his life shaped through Final Fantasy VI. He's had relationships started. His doctorate was built off of the Final Fantasy VI. It's literally his life has been marked through this game. So stuff like that. It's neat. Yeah, and then hopefully soon, maybe right after this episode airs, I'll have an interview with 3 of the editors of EGM, and we're going to have an hour-long discussion about how it was to work at the biggest video game magazine in the world during the era in which they did. So cool stuff coming up on A Gamer Looks at 40. Twitter is where you can find me most. I'm on the other platforms, but I really don't pay attention to them. So Twitter, go there and listen.
I actually use Twitter more now. For a long time, I didn't like Twitter, and I was like, but I use it now. I'm okay with it. Twitter's good. And if you enjoyed this episode, we have tons of other shows that we do. So you can check out, we do movies, comics, video games, all sorts of stuff. So definitely go check us out. And if you want to hear our first Blade movie episode, that is episode Film 10. Oh, a long fucking time ago. October 14th, 2020 is when we published that. So yeah, go check that out. God, that's almost 2 years. Okay. Yep. Damn. So go listen to that. And we have a Patreon we mentioned. Each month we have a different poll. The current poll that's just about to end at the time you're hearing this is the loser runner-up poll. It's Loki, Amazing Spider-Man. I don't remember what else is on there. TMT Forever and some other crap nobody's even voting for. So go check it out for a little dollar. You can help out the show. Every month we do a new Patreon poll, and that's what brought you this episode. People voted on it. I was surprised. I was really, really surprised this one. I was happy because I've been meaning to cover this for 2 years, but I couldn't. And then I just made myself finally do it. But yeah, I'm happy. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are on YouTube audio only, but we are there. And want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Half Fear. You can follow her on TikTok. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.